All right. My apologies, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. We had been freaking out. Me and some people like that I'm in community with had been freaking out for a second. For those that have seen the the debate that I had with Sam Cedar, the panel, right, that included Rick and Derek, Decolonize Buffalo, and Plants Fanon. There was, a Palestinian guest, and this this bastard went MIA on us for a little bit, and we were nervous. We were nervous because he stays busy and has been doing great work for years and has been targeted multiple times. So we were really nervous, and we're doing our best to try and reach out and find him. And yeah, like literally as I was like setting up and I was finishing this up, I get a phone call and I'm like who is this? I'm like what's going on, right? And I see that that it's him, and I'm like, oh man, I just the relief that you have, especially under this administration, that your um your comrades really I've mentioned it before. He is, as much as like I love to annoy him, he is a mentor of mine. I've known him for so long, and I've if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have known about Palestine, so early on. I wouldn't be so proactively combative against um, liberal Zionism, because he's somebody that, man, if I could share some of the stories that, you know, some of the situations that we've been in, um, I think y'all would enjoy it, but it would reveal way too much. I'm not gonna lie, not even for my own personal life, but for their safety. But um, the one thing I will say broadly is it's always interesting when you're not a member of a community, um, obviously in this case a Palestinian community, and when you're literally seeing the inner community fight struggle between embracing um, the resistance forces, Hamas, and kind of capitulating yourself to try and be a model minority, and seeing that and not being part of the community, not necessarily feeling comfortable to speak out, obviously, and just kind of being there, because I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that it's the first time in my life where I was thinking, how, if things pop off and we're drastically outnumbered, how can I guarantee that how can I do my part to make sure that we get out of the situation where I do not hurt the people trying to hurt us? Thankfully, I didn't get to that. Um, Thankfully, I did not get to that, and credit to the people that were de-escalating the situation. Uh, but it was an awkward position for me to be like, wow, I did not expect this turn, although I should have, because like I said, literally a mentor of mine, and if we've kind of really um, pushed each other to be more and more just, I don't know what the right word is, but to be more stubborn, to be more stubborn in the fact that no, we can't denounce armed resistance no matter where we are, and that the moment that we do, we are embracing that internalized colonization, and we got to refute that. Thank y'all for being here. And again, my apologies for that beginning, but look, for those of you, and I'm sure that I'm trying to create a space where we are, if we're physically capable, engaged in organizing, engaged community building, and when your homie goes missing and suddenly hits you up, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're making that call. When I was first informed that they had been MIA for a minute, I was literally doing like some family stuff, which I don't get to do often, and I just literally put everything aside, because that's also family, and that's a big reason why I don't call people comrades lightly, uh, because people have thrown these words around too loosely to for the aesthetics of it all, to appear cool, And nah, man, we don't do that. We don't do that. So again, thank you so much. I'm not this time. I'm not going to apologize for being late. Like I said, it was really important, and my energy completely shifted. I was kind of like, damn, this is gonna be a weird stream because it's the first time where I'm streaming 3 days out of the week, and also working on this video that I want to come out hopefully this week. I'm aiming for Friday, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm like completely like, man, I'm just so fucking happy. I cannot tell you if y'all know the details about this this man, this individual, this person, you'd understand why I was like relief. And I was trying to do the whole nah, we're overreacting, but with the way things are these days, it pays to be paranoid. Yeah. So thank you, GB. All right. I appreciate y'all being here. You know, it sometimes it takes me a minute, but we got it going. We got it going over here. The second channel is up, Deculturation Live. This is where you will find all the live streams. They will remain there. I will edit them down and cut them up to hour to like 45-minute, videos. So, all I ask is for your support, your patience with me, and we're gonna get it done. It is difficult, having a full-time job. It is difficult doing the side quests that I enjoy doing because I get bored of life, and if I stop moving and things get too quiet, it's not good. So there's a reason why, I joke around, but like collecting CT is my therapy. I need it. I strive for it. If y'all knew the limp that I had, man, it's been a minute since I got whooped that bad back to back consistently. But what made it funny too was the age range and the physicality of both of these individuals that are training for upcoming fights. It's man, and it's kind of weird because you really, unless you've done it, you're never upset when you're helping your training partner train for a fight to compete, and you get whooped. If you're just sparring and whatever, you get whooped, and yeah, you're kind of beating yourself up. I should have done this, I should have done that. But it's different when you're helping somebody train for a fight, and I've been very fortunate to have done it a few times. And it's kind of like you're like walking away, and you're licking your bumps and bruises, but you're like, damn, this was gonna get it. Like he's gonna get that dub, and this is collective effort. And martial arts is something that is deemed like it's a very isolated thing. It's not. I can tell you this from being at not great gyms. Let's put it that way, because I don't want to disparage any teammates. It's all about who you're with and who you train with, and I think organizing the same fucking way. So again, if y'all could go ahead and do me a favor and subscribe to Deculturation Live, that's where all this will remain. Appreciate y'all asking me like, hey, why'd you pull down videos? And I do my best to share the links and respond to that. But moving forward, everything's going to be on there. I will always be dual live streaming, but it will remain right there. Y'all can see I was a little lazy with the thumbnail as well. Taylor, I've been wanting to get into a martial arts possibly, but I've got the gym anxiety plus percent as fam. Okay, so that's going to be difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. One of the things that I don't know how I avoided getting swept up in the reactionary martial arts, quagmire. There's a reason why Joe Rogan gains, such a huge following for the Joe Rogan experience. And I've said this before, like I started listening when they were like, chafita, when it was low budget because of martial arts. I was literally introduced to the UFC with bootleg DVDs. You know what I mean? So the fight that for me changed everything. I mean, I grew up, watching Dragon Ball Z, watching Power Rangers, and then eventually Naruto. So I've always loved martial arts in that regard. Bruce Lee. But the fight that changed everything was Carlos Newton versus Matt Hughes. And I'll wrap this up. But man. So it's gonna be difficult for you to find a gym that you're comfortable with. For sure. Just be safe. If you can find Yelp reviews, obviously those are skewed and biased reviews, but ask around if you know anyone that does train, and what they think. Every gym has a reputation. Listen to it. Reputations are not easily built. It's not like you have one bad apple and it determines a gym and their culture. It's a collective, judgment. And depending on what you want to do, the one thing I always tell people is find out whether or not they have members competing. What is, the record? How often are they going out, traveling to, for fights, things like that. But unfortunately, I really can't. I can't say that it's going to be easy. Uh, Things are changing, and maybe if I know local campuses, they have like, you know classes, and that might be a safer route. You know, but man, I've been to workshops, and I've tried my best to help out. I've never led one, only because I have a little bit different mindset when it comes to martial arts. But I've been to like self-help, not self-help, but self-defense, excuse me, workshops, and I've done my best to assist the people leading the workshops, to the best of my abilities without overstepping. And they're fun, and I enjoy people coming through for that. But it is, it's difficult to get people to commit to doing martial arts, if it's not a passion of yours. But I do think that self-defense, not necessarily martial arts, but self-defense is it should be a pillar of what it means to organize as a leftist, as well as going out to the shooting range, something that I lack on. All right. Yeah, for sure. Women-led gyms. So I'm very, very, man. I'm loyal to this new gym that I found. Um, I remember financially I had to take about a year off, and make sure that I went back there. Usually I'll leave and find another gym and just try out a different spot. Um, but this gym I'm sticking around for a while for sure, because one, our crew is I like the way that his mind works in terms of explaining things, and encouraging us. The people there, there's a sense of community, a sense of encouragement, but also, and it's very important, they have a really good youth program that I appreciate, and they're training killers, and also they make room for all women classes and all women sparring days. So that's awesome to see. Ava, will you ever do a video or lives in Spanish? I won't do a live stream in Spanish because it'll end up being a live stream in Spanglish. We're being honest. Um, I don't know. I won't rule it out, but that's more than likely not going to happen. I will start making videos in Spanish. Let me just get. For me, it's just you know repetition. Let me get used to putting out uh, edited videos while streaming at least 3 times a week, and we'll get the ball rolling with the Spanish stuff. Like I mentioned in the previous stream, my goal is for parents to be able to show my videos to their chavalitos, chavalitas, chavalexes. I don't know if there's a word for that yet. A non-gender term for it. Um, Esquinkles. How about that? Esquinkles is gender neutral, right? Um, for the Rugrats, and for people to be able to show their elderly parents, their grandparents. If I could do that, if I could reach a demographic of people that there is Spanish oriented media out there. I've seen it. I followed it, um, but there really isn't. I sound so fucking arrogant. Not the way that I want to do it. How about that? But I appreciate y'all for asking and supporting this. All right. Again, thank you so much. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? let's get to it. And again, if you can, go ahead and hit them up over here. And it's funny because I see that Dr. Ball and Two Black are live streaming right now, and I'm like, damn. I wish I was watching that. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I wish I was watching that right now. So let me do my best to lock in and entertain. There is a channel. I'll keep it up just so towards the end of the stream we go back to it. But this had me dying, y'all. This had me dying. Let's try this one more time. And it's not gonna comply. So let's go here. Here we go. This had me dying.
Think that Kamala Harris would be any different than Donald Trump. You guys are fucking delusional. If Kamala Harris genuinely had a perspective that was even a little bit different than Donald Trump when it comes to Israel and defending Israel, she would have fucking let it known. She would have let it be known right now. It's like an 80-20 issue. It's like a 90-20, 90-10 issue at this point. It's a 90-10 issue for the fucking Democratic Party, and she still hasn't said anything about, like, why hasn't Trump actually implemented a ceasefire? I thought he was going to be a peaceful president. She didn't say any of those things. Why? She's no longer running for president. If she truly was this peaceful dove, as all these fucking dickhead Democrats kept telling me over and over again, why has she not said anything?
So this there's a clip of this going around where people are trying to misconstrue that Hassan is basically saying that across the board Harris would be no different than Trump, but he's specifically talking about the Zionist entity. So yeah, people like Destiny's Friend, Dan, I don't even know his last name. Like, all I'm saying is somebody's using Ethan Klein's blackface photo as their PFP, their profile picture. I hope that this person is actually like black themselves, because I do think that there's a lot of white leftists that jump at the opportunity to kind of get their fix out. I'm not gonna lie, to do what they view as acceptable. It's like, oh, okay, I could get away with they find this, they actually they actually do find this funny, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna make it my profile picture. It's just kind of weird. I've seen it too many times to where it's weaponized, like bigotry and stuff like that. But let's finish the rest of this, because I don't want to be accused of like, oh, you didn't watch all of it. No worry.
Truly was this peaceful dove, as all these fucking dickhead Democrats kept telling me over and over again. Why has she not said anything? I'm talking specifically about Israel, okay? In terms of like mass deportations, I'm sure mass deportations will still be happening under the Democrats, as this always has happened under the Democrats. It just wouldn't be as gross as it is currently with Donald Trump. But Democrats play a different role when it comes to deportations in this country. They play the role of calcifying right-wing white nativist immigration policies, as they did this past election cycle.
Agree with that. Somebody said, yeah, that somebody. Oh, okay, so it's the Drake, Pusha T, story of Adidon. Is that what it is? But this isn't an actual. That is Ethan Klein, by the way. That is Ethan Klein. Let me find that real quick. But I get what you're saying. If black hair, yeah, sure. That's what I was gonna search. Okay, so they just put his this face here of him doing blackface over. Is it? Yeah, they knew what they were doing. Is it like a face mask and they're covering their hair and stuff like that? Is it one of those kind of we're trying to be slick with it? I don't know. That's why it's difficult to I'm sure they've done it. Oh yeah, no. Come on, stop. Stop. That is, yeah, there's no excuse there. Yeah, there's no excuse for that one. No. It's always hard to like really take these people seriously because this isn't about Palestine. This isn't about Israel. This is like just petty drama between two former business partners, Hassan Piker and Ethan Klein. And that's what it is. What made me laugh though is he's, Hassan's able to play all sides because he's over here complaining about like all these people that said that Kamala Harris is a dove that should be different, this and that. Meanwhile,
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got problem? I voted for Kamala Harris. You got problem? I voted for Kamala Harris. You got problem?
while wearing a Palestinian, scarf around his neck with the flag, while being in California, still voting for Kamala Harris. How is it that you can like try and how is it that you're so comfortable being fake and two-faced and unprincipled and your mouth never aligning with your actions, that you're comfortable like saying that, oh, stating the obvious that every leftist knew. And what makes me laugh is he's saying all these, liberals that were telling me that Kamala Harris was a dove, that she was different. Look at this, watch. Where's the other one here? Here, whoa, did I not have it? Oh, I did have it. My apologies there. This is what made me laugh. This is what made me laugh. I got into it with somebody about Norm Finkelstein. I'm telling you, so self-proclaimed pro-Palestinian Jewish people, y'all are just like white people to me. It's not enough for you to say that you're against racism. How anti-racist are you? How anti-Zionist are you really? So Hassan Piker was saying all these liberals that were trying to convince you that Harris was some sort of dove, that she would be different in how she would handle the Zionist entity and their genocide of Palestinians. Look at this.
Before I would vote for Jill Stein, personally, I would leave it blank.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I'd also just
to
say,
show that I'm voting down ballot, but I'm not voting for the president.
For the president.
Yeah.
And
Jamani, was he not supposed to vote for her? I'm confused. No, we don't normalize genocide around here, even if the Democratic Party does it. We don't normalize genocide because blue is doing it instead of red, when red is just going to continue doing what blue started. Right? So, especially when you have a platform and a cult following like Hassan Piker, the fact that he went out of his way to smear the Green Party, who all my criticism of them, Joe Zion being a Zionist, were running on, ending the genocide. The PSL with Claudia de la Cruz, same situation. He could have platformed them. He chose not to. But he'll show up to marches that they help lead and organize for the clout. He won't be bothered to write a speech, but he'll show up for the clout. To say that he did that, to put it on his resume, right? To cross it off his bucket list. But he won't platform her because it'll, put the Democratic Party at a disadvantage when it comes to young people that watch his stuff. But let's allow the liberals that Hassan Piker was pretending to care about, pretending that he was frustrated with when they were trying to claim that Harris would be different.
Before I would vote for Jill Stein, personally, I would leave it blank.
yeah. Right. Well, and I'd also just
to
say,
show that I'm voting down ballot, but I'm not voting for the president.
for the president.
Yeah.
And
again, that's like also.
yeah. But when people say there's no evidence, like maybe there's no evidence for Harris being better or worse. Or there's no evidence for Harris being definitively better than Biden, we'll say. But there's no evidence showing that she's aligned with Biden's conservatism throughout his entire career as it relates to this issue. So it's more about like an absence of evidence and then reading the tea leaves about her political ideology and what that means as it relates to Zionism. So
One, I am Jewish. Before
Crazy, man. Yeah, that's because Harris hasn't been in politics as long as Joe Biden. That's because Harris is a new type of politician that understands that you have to like be slick with it, that you have to follow the Obama playbook. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that she spent literally all of Harris's campaign trying to wash the blood of Palestinians off of her. Oh, she's just vice president. Oh, she can't oppose Joe Biden even though she's, even though she's running for president. And everybody agrees that he's senile, and everybody was encouraging him to drop out. The party turned on him, right? Except for Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders. Right? So Emma Vigeland was one of these prime individuals that Hassan is pretending to be frustrated with. Splat. Heard him talk about PSL. He could talk about them all they want. Did he platform them during the presidential campaign? When it matters? When it could have encouraged his millions of viewers to go and join the PSL if they align politically? I doubt my vote got counted, but I voted for Claudia de la Cruz, who is also a Zionist, Toribio. Jill Stein. Jill Stein is a Zionist. Splat. Oh, my bad. That's all I saw. I heard him talk about PSL. Taylor Lane. It's honestly also a hint of anti-blackness in the weird, circumventional way, infantilizing her and dehumanizing her by saying she isn't a full person with autonomy, claiming she's a puppet, can't do anything. Yeah, I got a lot of that too, especially because Emma Vigeland is like a pristine like example of a white feminist, right? We saw that when she tried to accuse me of being anti-Semitic, and Sam Cedar being Jewish, like immediately said no. That is peak white feminist. Oh yeah, Jill Stein. All right, well we'll find it here because I need to find a way to get these wires to cooperate. We'll find it because I did see it recently and I was tripping out. Oh, by the way, talking about white feminism. So Sam Cedar tweets out, how about a Cuomo's law? Cuomo, excuse me, my Italianness. A law that will keep corrupt predators out of NYC mayoral's race. I'm in full support of that. That'd be dope. But when he talks about predators, and Cuomo is one, I just find it interesting that they continue to hype up this ghoul, a full guide to the sexual misconduct allegations against YouTuber Andrew Callahan from Channel 5. This is what they had to say.
he's invited Andrew Callahan from, what is that channel? What was it?
All
Channel
Gas
5.
No Breaks, Channel 5.
He's Channel 5 now.
Now, right, yeah.
And they've been doing, his channel's been doing some really good, like, on the ground work. Like, I think a few months ago they were down at the border. He tried to cross the Rio Grande himself. So check out Channel 5. I think that he's doing really good work over there.
Performative shit. But I will say this. Emma Vigeland addressed the fact that Andrew Callahan is a predator. And all she said was like, oh, I understand if some of you might feel uncomfortable with that. But because he's doing work that she likes, she's willing to dismiss it. So these people are no different. Their double standards are like, are you saying what I want to hear? Dope. The very same things the very same actions that I would drag, that would, never allow a reactionary to live down, an outward reactionary, I will forgive if you're on my political team. They're unprincipled. They're discussing individuals, opportunists. That's what I mean when I say that she's a prime example of a white woman. But this over here, man, made me. And then we'll move on to the serious stuff. I wasn't actually going to do it in this order. But again, Hassan Piker claiming that he's sick and tired of all these people in media, all these liberals that claim that Harris was going to be different, that she was going to be a dove, that she was going to be different when it came to the Zionist entity.
Hi.
How are you? Good to see you.
How are
I'm
you
sorry
doing?
I missed it.
Where's everybody else?
They're doing an interview.
Oh, okay.
downstairs.
You wanna mic up Emma?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's.
What's good?
Yeah.
How are you been? How
I'm good.
Here,
have
hold
you been
the-
here
hold
since
the camera for me.
the beginning?
I just got in last night. Yeah.
Here, hold the
got
camera for me.
here. I saw Rashida's speech.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just streaming right
Yeah, we're live streaming.
now? Oh hey.
You might just put this
Everybody,
on, just a
it's
little
the
Look how happy she gets. Oh, more camera time?
a majority report.
What's up?
magnet.
What do I do?
It's just a magnet.
Okay.
No, the other side, other way. Yep.
I mean, this whole thing's disgusting. If y'all seen this, this has been going around, like people literally lining up to worship this guy. Literally a line. This is a DSA. This individual tweeted something disgusting, like some like weird ass like role playing shit. And she literally asked him like, "How much can you bench?"
I don't have anything for you to sign. I want to ask, how much do you bench?
Not that much. Like I can rep 225 fairly easily for 10,
Okay.
but that's it.
Just wondering. I'm 110.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I can bench press you. That's what you're asking.
That's what it is.
Very subtle.
That's so fucking disgusting. That is repulsive. That is vomit inducing. And look, I'll be honest with you. I would actually be sympathetic and I do my best to try and highlight the double standards that men face in terms of like sexual discrimination. It's a reality. It's a reality. And like a lot of people like just don't like when we talk about like misandry. But it's just the truth. Like there are ways that men are discriminated against, are victims that are not taken serious, that are dismissed because they're men. And that is part of embracing patriarchy. So normally I would say, hey, in any other situation, like, hey, like you just sexualized this man. You clearly made him uncomfortable. You asked a question specifically for your own sexual satisfaction. You are a creep. And, all respect and all love to this gentleman for having to just take it on the chin like that. Because I don't want to see women. I don't want to see men, any non-binary folks. I don't want to see anyone, be put in this situation. But it's the fact that this is what he plays up. This is that part of his angle, because it is narcissism, that just doesn't allow me to be like sympathetic to him. It just doesn't. But this like, what pisses me off most about this is like, bro, like, why aren't you doing anything to like put a stop to it? Because you it's a weird thing where it's like, this is what you want. This is part of the fame that you want. For me, I'm like, yo, like, this is like, can you not be a creep? I wouldn't be like, oh, real subtle. I'm like, hey, can you show me some respect? We're here for a political event. This is a DSA organization, event, and you're coming up to me asking me how much I could bench for your own sexual fantasies, and you're gonna tell me how much you weigh? Like, what the fuck? It's gross. But also very clearly loves this shit. It's wild. Yeah, this is the people that are gonna lead the fucking political revolution over here. Man. The way that I would have cursed her out. I don't gotta worry about that. I'm not out here benching, bro. I'm out here fucking electing CTE. Man. I need to block out, any childhood trauma. I get that shit punched and kicked out of me. But this is if this was a man doing this to a woman, I think we all collectively agree that that it is gross, that it's disgusting, and they should be cussed out and humiliated and exposed for being a creep. No different here. Jemani, yeah, he does have some childhood stuff where it's kind of like, bro, like, all right, buddy, all right, like at a certain point, you're a grown ass man, and you need to let a lot of that shit go. You need to move on. Yeah, man, this is sick. Toribio, seems like the US and Westerners are suffering from some form of delusion, like reality is mixed with fiction, or that they really should work like fiction. Oh, yeah, it's all about aesthetics over here. It's all about aesthetics. Everything has to be commodified. Look, whatever body dysmorphia he's struggling with or going through, being such a willing public figure like that and streaming for 10 hours a day is not going to help that. It's not going to make that any better. Most of these people, and I have friends who are heavy into like bodybuilding and stuff like that, and you see the people who love, and I'm not saying it can't be both, but you see the difference in people who love working out and challenging themselves, and you see the people that are trying to run away from who they were perceived as a child, and how they carry themselves is so different. And it's basically like, how much of a douche are you? And man, like, and it's funny because I know people who are actually like training to compete in bodybuilding who don't behave in the same way, certain people that are doing it out of insecurities. And it's a shame too, because one of the things that actually stopped me from really embracing like the weight room, one, I was always only training and working out. Excuse me, I was only ever in shape or working out because I was training in martial arts, so I didn't care about lifting weights. Um, but also like I've always been very happy with who I am as a person, because uh, I got all four limbs. I'm relatively healthy, and I've always been very grateful and appreciative of that. And I think it aligns a lot with, um, having spent a good part of my childhood around with people with disabilities, to where who the hell am I to be whining and crying and self-conscious over a body that is allows me to be treated by society as a full human being, right? And so I'm sorry, and I'm very honest about when I have like reactionary tendencies or reactionary thinking, but I lack a lot of sympathy for able-bodied people when they struggle with, and I understand why it is, when they struggle with you know loving themselves and loving their body. I get it, but I see so much ungratefulness in that it's so frustrating for me, and I don't know how to deal with it in any other way than like tough love, because it's I understand we all have different challenges, and we all had different childhoods where we might have been bullied. Our family members might have not been the most loving or kindness in the way that they demonstrated their concern for our health, of the perception of what healthy is. I get all of that. I truly do. But it comes off as so ungrateful. And I And I struggle to get over that. Yeah, body ain't gonna last anyway. Reach the 40s, 50s, 60s. You better get used to it, because if you don't, you're gonna be insecure growing old. Exactly. And for me, and it's only because of martial arts, I can't, I'm getting beat up by younger people now. I used to be the young one, not necessarily beating people up, but hanging with the older fools. And now I'm getting lit up by these young fucking uh straight killers. And again, like, it makes me happy. And I have some regret that I'm like, damn, I should have trained harder when I was their age. But I also didn't care enough to train that hard, because I had other things going on. And martial arts has always for me been not a competitive venture, but for me a therapeutic one. I've mentioned before, I hate going to competitions. I waste an entire day. I don't even care if I win or lose. I just wasted my whole day here. But yeah. So yeah, just sick behavior like this, just lying and just ridiculous people. These people have no shame whatsoever. But yeah, just hanging out with the same people that he claims he's so frustrated with. Emma Vigeland trying to wash off the blood of Palestinians from Kamala Harris' hands during that whole campaign. It's sick. But yeah, as he continues going, bro, like,
The show has gone around for
No, I can't take.
Walk and talk.
Oh wow, thank you.
Tell us.
this is some idol worshiping stuff right here. Bro, you're supposed to be on the left. You're supposed to be on the left, and this is the celebrity culture that the DSA embraces. It's pathetic. But apparently I'm just gonna sound like a hater, right? This is just me hating. And it's like, what are you doing? When people who actually put in the work and get busy don't put up with shit like this. I've had the pleasure of meeting 2 Black in person since he's having a conversation with Dr. Ball. I've got his book signed. Hell yeah, I was excited to see him. They asked me, they were taking a picture. I forget what organization it was, and I don't want to, say the wrong organization's name. But a lot of people there were there on behalf of that organization, and so they want to take a group photo. And not being part of the org, I was like, "Oh, I'll take it." And I take it, and I go, all right. On the count of 3, say 2 Black, and I'm like 1, 2, 3. And he's like, no. Like, there's some level of, like, not even secondhand embarrassment, or just kind of like, hey, let's not do that. That's weird. Let's not, some level of, for me, what I would consider self-respect that white people don't have. And I don't care if he's Turkish. I don't care. He's white. That white people don't have, and they want that. They love that shit. You roll up to me like that and see how quickly I tell you back the fuck up. All right. Boss fight, white supremacist, capitalist beauty standards is the root. It is why Harris is popular in the first place with 20-year-olds. I don't really think it is a fat phobia stuff or the bro culture. Oh, Hassan, I read Harris. Yeah, he's easy on the eyes. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a liar. There's the same scene if you replace Hassan with Mr. Speed Guy. Somebody literally asked him if they could get Speed to join the DSA. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Taylor, it's a great conversation about the weird voyeurism and consumption nation and commodification of figureheads. The people who show up to these meet and greets are also part of the what? Stratagem? Big words, big words. No, yeah, I hear you. Like, I understand, like, but it comes off like a a convention, like a Comic-Con. And I don't think that the left should be pushing for that. Especially when you're talking about figures that haven't done anything, especially real organizing. So like I get it, if you want to wear a chess shirt, I think it's played out. You know, we watched the whole thing with Culture Clash, and for all its problematic, you know, stereotypes and you know, anti-blackness, mocking these pseudo revolutionaries. We should do that a lot more. You know, we should do that a lot more. And especially when you're all about aesthetics. Like I said, I could have gotten a Mexican flag. I could have gotten some LA gear. You know, I've gone to a Dodgers game out of like commitment, and I was desperately trying to how do I word this? I was desperately trying to be a partner that is willing to compromise, put it that way. And it just did not work. And it did not work. And I told myself after that, like, no, like there's certain red lines that I won't cross. And one of them is it might seem silly, it might seem stupid, but like going to a Dodgers game. The union that I'm in had a Dodgers night, and super cheap tickets, great seating. I knew it was gonna be a good time because of my union is a lot of fun, but I just couldn't do it, and it was a bummer. I literally was like, "Yo, I'll pregame it with y'all, I'll postgame it with y'all, but I'm not going into the Dodger Stadium." We had to have some fucking self-respect. We had to have some self-respect. All right, talking about shameless fucking people. If you don't know who Benny Johnson is, this ghoul. But I appreciate these people that you know just say out loud what we already know. Listen to this.
President Trump is doing God's work.
What do we say? You cannot separate Christian nationalism from white nationalism. You can't do it. You can't do it. I'm sorry. Immediately, man. Immediately.
President Trump is doing God's work by refederalizing D.C. By the way, D.C. was set up as a federal city. It's in the Constitution. It's how our founding fathers intended it. These laws are still fully enforceable. They've never been rescinded or amended. President Trump and the executive, through the House of Representatives, controls Washington, D.C. President Trump controls budgets. House of Representatives and the Speaker of the House is technically and historically the mayor, the lead of D.C. That still remains on the books. What happened to D.C., especially during the civil rights period, was that protesters that were bussed up here stayed here. The city was burned to the ground. This happened during massive riots throughout the 60s and 70s. Mass swaths of the city were torched and were never really rebuilt. And so what President Trump is doing is reasserting control of not only our nation's capital, but truly the seat of Western civilization. It's one final little note here that kind of blends.
Western civilization. Yeah. They mean a white man's world. A white man's world is what they're talking about.
Outside of the personal, which is that Washington, D.C. is a representation of the work of your forefathers and mine. It is, by every measure, a very beautiful city architecturally. It is a sacred city. It is a sovereign place with the monuments to great men and women who've sacrificed far more than you or I could ever dream for this country.
And how many of them own slaves? And who built those structures? Okay.
Must be preserved because the peoples of Earth come here. by the millions per year in order to witness the success or failures of our systems. And if you are a proud patriot and you love this country and you wish for it to be reflected honorably to the peoples of Earth, then Washington, D.C. must be swept clean. I believe entire neighborhoods.
It must be swept clean from the unpure, from the dirty, from the stain,
be swept clean. I believe entire neighborhoods probably need to be emptied, need to be bulldozed. I believe that there are places that are so crime-ridden and so infested that you just need to, you're just going to have to crack down.
Infested. I mean, we're not even dog whistling at this point. We're not even dog whistling.
You're going to have to do the job, and you're going to have to get the crime out of Washington. That's my personal experience.
The crime out of Washington. The crime. Okay.
Don't believe the bullshit that you hear online from some reporters. Oh, crime's down in D.C. Well, my infant nearly died in a drug fire after mass shootings.
But instead, they had to live their life being raised by you. Poor child was almost spared the misery, the misfortune of you being their father.
So no, D.C. is not safe. And I can tell you this as a matter of fact, it is one of the worst, most racist narco states and welfare states imaginable. In that neighborhood that I would walk every single day, racial epithets were screamed at us, rocks were thrown at us because we were white people. This city is a sunken place. It is an unsafe place. I mean, if that's what happens to me, imagine what happens to somebody who's visiting here from a foreign country, right?
Imagine somebody visiting from Europe and other European countries and other white places. Homie said he got stoned.
Totally and wholly unsafe and a scar on the face of our country. And it must be healed. And President Trump is going about that heavy work.
Man. You see, we are an infestation. We are a disease. We must, the country must be cleansed and cleaned from us. These guys, crying about a white genocide, proactively praying to their white God to bulldoze our homes, to carry out what the Zionists are doing in Palestine once again here. Because we have normalized the colonization of the indigenous people. And, in its place, instead of acknowledging it for what it is, we hyper focus on gentrification. I'm not saying that's not an issue. I'm not saying that's not a concern. It very much is. And it is, colonization, 2.0. It is the neoliberal version of an internal colonization. But we have to go out of our way to, again, question the legitimacy of all settler colonial projects so that the parallels between the Zionist entity's actions in Palestine and what occurred here and how it inspired the Zionists, how it inspired Hitler, take its rightful place in the forefront. It's why I get so frustrated when liberal Zionists like Norm Finkelstein don't acknowledge the true one-to-one parallel between European Jews colonizing Palestine and European Christians colonizing here in the U.S., so-called the United States, or the Catholics, a little further down south. And why he chooses to focus on making the disrespectful comparison to Africans and the chattel slavery. which I think is disrespectful because Palestinians, for everything they've gone through, have not been forced into chattel slavery, have not been forced, into these breeding camps. That's just a reality. And it's frustrating that that comparison gets made and that the comparison is promoted. All because we refuse to acknowledge that the U.S. is a settler colonial empire. Because then we have to address our place as settlers, as colonizers, as not being indigenous within the borders of the U.S. But yeah, this guy's fucking hilarious, man. And look at this, This is so funny too. So, this is hilarious. But let's see. Big balls, Washington D.C. What is it? Carjacking, car beat up or some shit like that. See if I don't get banned. So, supposedly, this guy whose handle was like Big Balls or something like that, that was part of Elon's Doge team, got beat up in a carjacking. It's ridiculous right ring false flag shit. And that's what they're using to promote the fact that nope, Washington D.C. the crime has gone too far. A poor innocent white reactionary allegedly got beat up. I'm sure they paid whoever to do whatever, because this is light work right here. We're talking about a white boy getting beat down. This is light work. This is maybe just a busted lip. It doesn't even, maybe a busted nose. But we're talking about a white boy getting beat down. Now they bruised way too easy for this not to have been light work. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I do think this is a false flag. Put on your tinfoil hats. But this is what, again, why I feel like this is too ridiculous to even accept as reality over here.
Will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
And they don't even call him by his real name because it's all a fucking joke to them. And they think it's funny to actually present this, in a, like, he says it with a straight face because I'm a professional, I'm a journalist. I'm not going to use his real name that we all know and are aware of. No, I'm gonna say Big Balls because my audience loves that shit, and she even laughs.
Will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Benny. Thanks for being here.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm somebody that appreciates this. I'm grateful for this. I'm not somebody like, in the White House, that language? I'm like, yes. Awful people belong in awful places, and we should see how awful and ridiculous the circus really is. This is how the world should view the U.S. Because this is what it is. I, for one, appreciate it. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's humorous. I think it's reality. And what we're craving for, what liberals demand, is an illusion. They want the veneer. They want the class. They want to classy up this joint. That's not what we are. That's what we've never been. That. It's what you need to feel better about what we're truly are, our place in the world, what we carry out and what we do. I mean, people hated George W. Bush not because of all the bloodshed, but because he presented himself as an idiot, as a bumbling fool, which he wasn't. It was a character. They loved Obama because he was slick with it. Ronald Reagan, he was slick with it. He was literally an actor. He was playing a role. He was playing a character. Was he actually a racist? Absolutely. But he was presenting himself and carrying himself like a character. That's what they crave. That's what they want. Liberals hate this. They hate this more than the actual fucking the appointment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., believe it or not. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Thorbio. It's funny in the we're all gonna die for this kind of way. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And in that regard, I agree with you. It's like, oh, this is how we're going out. That's fucking hilarious. That's a little pathetic, but hey, we've been through worse. Do me a favor, y'all. Go ahead and hit the like button if you're new here and you're sick and tired of these white liberals doing the most milquetoast, shallow analysis of media, and you want a little bit more sazon, just a little bit more, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the like. It helps the channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. You know, chat is active. Let's keep it going. It all helps the channel out. And we got the second channel up now where all the live streams will remain and be cut down. Deculturation Live. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate y'all. Let's see where we're at there. 7. It's growing. It's something. But that's where everything will remain. Con el sazón. Ya saben. Ya saben. But, you know, we started off mocking Hassan Piker, how he speaks out of both sides of his mouth, while saying that he's sick and tired of all these liberals that wanted to downplay, you know, Harris and her blood loss and her willingness to aid and abet the Zionist entity in their genocide against Palestinians. He's frustrated with all those liberals that try and claim that she was a dove. Meanwhile, she's palling out with one of the main ones, Emma Vigeland. I did not see anyone working double time that way that Emma Vigeland was working to help whitewash Harris, to help make her an innocent victim of this entire situation that Biden forced her into it. And I always laugh and say, do you think Biden would have endorsed her if he didn't get a guarantee that Harris was going to be complicit in complete alignment with the Zionist entity? Come on. Childish, childish, childish. We're trying to get this channel to grow. Super chats are turned on, but you know I engage with the chat anyways, so can't even push that as much as I want to. Can't help myself. All right. So one more clip before we do a little bit of reading. Somebody asked this of Trump today. He was at the Kennedy Center.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Your federalization of the police has a 30-day limit unless Congress acts to extend it. Are you talking to Congress about extending it, or do you believe 30 days is sufficient?
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress before Congress very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in. And go ahead.
So I hate that they cut him off there, but I'm sure he started rambling. I just love the idea that, like, y'all remember when Booker was like, yeah, I'm a Democrat and I'm voting to increase, police budget. And I don't want anybody ever saying that Democrats don't support the police. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Where is this speech? Actually, I'm probably gonna easier to find it here. Where are we at? Is it this one? It has to be this one.
Want to respond.
Look at his face.
This is what frustrates me. I've passed numerous pieces of legislation for our police officers. I partnered with Chuck Grassley, the incredible senator from Iowa, on a bill very similar to the one I support about police officers who fall in the line of duty. In this case, it was COVID. Police officers who got COVID and died had difficulty proving it was a line of duty death. We passed legislation to make sure those families get the benefits. I've worked in bipartisan ways and within my own party to make sure we get resources to our police officers. I don't need lectures about the urgency of this. One of my childhood best friends, a police officer in a small town in New Jersey, after a hard day's work, before he even went home to see his family, died by suicide. I don't need somebody implying.
I'm sorry. Was he supposed to? Was he supposed to go see his family first? Man.
In any way that this is not vital to me and my state, that we have resources for our police officers. That's why I support this package. That's why I'm a co-sponsor of some of the bills in this package. But what I am tired of is when the President of the United States of America violates the Constitution, trashes our norms and traditions. And what does the Democratic Party do? Comply? Allow him? Beg for scraps? No, I demand justice. Somebody's implying that this to me is not about resources for my state. I will fight for Jersey every day, every night. And when it comes to the police officers of my state, anybody who implies that something is going on other than my allegiance and fealty to the safety, strength, and protection of my police officers, because they protect me and everybody in this body.
My allegiance to the fucking police state knows no bounds.
This is a call, folks. The Democratic Party needs a wake-up call. I see law firms bending a knee to this president, not caring about the larger principles, that those free speech rights, that you can take on any client, why are you bending the knee? I see universities that should be bastions of free speech bending at the knee to this president. I see businesses taking late-night talk show hosts off the air because they dare to insult a president. I see people who want mergers suddenly think that they have to pay tribute to this president.
This is newer. This isn't even the one I was thinking about. It's how much he's always fucking bootlicking pigs. This isn't even the one I was thinking about. Yeah, because it was 2 weeks ago. Was it really 4 years ago? Oh, it was.
If it wasn't complete abdication of Senate procedures and esteem, I would walk over there and hug my colleague from Alabama.
Sad as fuck. And they praised this. Shout out to the viewers on Twitch. I appreciate it. I know I don't really give y'all enough love, but thank you out there.
My amendment is pretty simple. If your city council wants to defund their police, don't expect the federal government to make up the difference.
Madam President.
Senator from New Jersey.
I am so excited. This is perhaps the highlight of this long and painful and torturous night. This is a gift. If it wasn't complete abdication of Senate procedures and esteem, I would walk over there and hug my colleague from Alabama. And I will tell you right now, thank God, because there's some people who have said that they're members of this deliberative body that want to defund the police, to my horror. And now this senator has given us the gift that finally, once and for all, we can put to bed this scurrilous accusation that somebody in this great esteemed body would want to defund the police. So let all of us, 100 people, not walk, but sashay down there and vote for this amendment and put to rest the lies. And I am sure I will see no political ads attacking anybody here over defund the police. And I would ask unanimous consent to add something else to this obvious bill. Can we add also that every senator here wants to defund the police, believes in God, country, and apple pie? Thank you.
And they celebrate this shit. They love that shit, man. I don't even know how we started talking about that. I'm not gonna lie. He would probably support this shit over here. And somebody asked, and I appreciate the question, Primate Czar, not related to the stream, but I see the Mr. Miracle trade on your shelf. What are your thoughts on Tom King? He's a fucking CIA bastard, bro. I'm currently reading Supergirl, A Woman of Tomorrow. Beautiful art, gorgeous art. And just the penciling, the ink, all that is just on point. You cannot ask for a better looking, comic. You can't. And there is a long through line of genocide throughout it. And it's so frustrating because the writing is so good, and again, the portrayal of the characters is legit. The character growth is there. That's my main request for anything is I want to see some character development. It's why I stopped watching Dragon Ball Super. If I didn't see any character development, I'm out. Shonen has that issue. I can't do it anymore. And I can't even get myself to really feel for the characters or feel for what's going on in the story, because the whole time I'm thinking, you fucking bastard. You bastard. You expect... I don't know, man. No, yeah, I hate that Tom King is good at what he fucking does. I hate that he's good at writing comics. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It really is. But it's also just. Don't get me wrong. I bootleg a lot of things. And I should have bootlegged that, the Mr. Miracle for sure. Fucking love that story though. That's the weird thing. That's the reality. You know. I don't know what to say. I want to make a joke, but at the same time, it's kind of like, nah. Definitely part of the problem there. But thank you for asking. Rest in peace, LimeWire. There's always other avenues. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, Booker is man. He should be on Broadway. What is he doing, wasting everybody's time? Like, just go out there, get yourself a Tony. The Jamin. You know, when I stopped watching Super is when they once again did the Prince himself dirty by booting him out of the tournament. When I'm like, can we please just get one time where another character gets to shine? It's not called the Goku show. It's called Dragon Ball Z, and we're watching the fucking Z Warriors. It's Dragon Ball Super. Let's move on and let other people get their moment to shine. Actually, you know, get a dub, get a victory. And what I mean is, I just want Vegeta to win. Lynn Stacks, I saw a clip of him crying over private equity from back when he was an Obama surrogate. I wouldn't be surprised if he can cry on command. He's very talented. Young Base World, I still go back and listen to old Kanye music. Look, I don't know, like I get it, but I'm gonna say that despite everything Kanye has done, that an actual CIA agent is still by multitudes worse. Toribio Picaro is my father. Man, he raised all of us. Yeah, I'm so glad that he got a new form. I don't care for the color, but upgrades to the whole crew. Seeing fucking Master Roshi fucking swole the fuck up, I'm like, all right, maybe I should start lifting weights. Which is, as you get older, is necessary because it's good for your bones. All right, just gonna read a little bit of this before we continue with. Actually, let's read this first, and then we'll head back there. We do our best to highlight Black radical thought over here, and we have from Black Agenda Report this quick rundown by Margaret Kimberly. Trump and Democrats fuel the Washington D.C. crime panic. All right, let's get to it. Where are we at here? How's it look for y'all? It's a little. Let's do that. All right, perfect. Donald Trump's takeover of Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department is not merely a result of his racist and authoritarian tendencies, nor is it new. It is part and parcel of a history of militarized policing against Black people and a bipartisan consensus promoting racist crime panics, which are often conducted with the help of the Black misleadership class. What did we just watch? The year before, Newark, New Jersey had been occupied by nearly lily white units of National Guard sent there to quell a 4-day rebellion in which 26 Blacks were killed. Glenn Ford describing the 1967 occupation of New York, New Jersey. Donald Trump's declaration of a 30-day public safety emergency, including a National Guard deployment in Washington, D.C., was not, as the corporate media would have us believe, undertaken suddenly, the reported assault on one of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency former employees, Edward Corestine, but white people be what? Calling him big balls left and right, because that shit's fucking funny. That's what I'm saying. You can't shame these fucking nationalists. You can't shame them whatsoever. The Jamin, you know what? You just reminded me too. Chidi Mancha had an article that I wanted to read, but it was kind of a throwback to Kamala Harris. So we got to do that at some point. On a little bit slower day. I'm already behind than what I wanted to. I wanted to tap out of here at 1 today. We're going to tap out at like about 2-ish. I promise. All right. Where were we? You can't shame the shameless. It's not even that they're shameless, that they're proud of it. That's the thing. They have pride and joy about their immature humor, but also about their white supremacy. Okay, it was widely reported to be the cause belli or belli. No, casus belli, right? Of the federal attack on Washington, D.C. But in reality, the plan had been in place months before that incident, which Trump chose to amplify as a convenient moment. In March 2025, Trump issued an executive order entitled Making the District of Columbia Safe and Beautiful. The marketing with these kind of very simplistic titles, it reminds me of, I believe it was Herman Cain that was arguing that bills should all be just one page long to make it accessible for the American people to be able to read. And Jon Stewart just really, you saw his true colors, and you see it with these white liberals, what they really think about. Literally, it could be the same politician. They could be saying the same fucking thing. Both Republicans, whatever, but one's white and one's black, and you really see the way that they indulge in criticizing and targeting even yes, sure, they're Republicans, they're conservatives, they're reactionaries, but when they happen to be black, they kind of just play it up a little bit more because it's that anti-blackness. It's like, finally I can let it out to an appropriate target. And you saw this with Jon Stewart. But I think for the titles of a lot of these executive orders or bills that they're passing, yeah, it's kind of embracing that Herman Cain thing, but just doing it in like, hey, just make the title simple. Right? Just make the title simple, and people that are your voter base are going to embrace it just as is. I started putting my coffee in this Yeti, and there's a story behind this Yeti that I can't get into, but it always makes me laugh that like when you're broke, you get lucky, you know? And my question was going to be whether or not this Yeti is appropriately maintaining my coffee cold, and it isn't. And it isn't. So my apologies for that. All right. Where were we? I gotta watch that out a little bit. Ain't gonna lie. All right. Okay. Trump issued an executive order entitled Making the District of Columbia Safe and Beautiful, which, despite its name, had little to do with municipal beautification. Trump established a law enforcement task force made up of federal agencies such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who were directed to work with the Metropolitan Police Department. The task force may, to the extent permitted by law, request operational assistance from and coordinate with the Metropolitan Police Department of District of Columbia, Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, United States Park Police, Amtrak Police, and other federal and local officials as appropriate. I mean, it's kind of like reminds me of like when they created the SWAT. And like, oh yeah, they're going to be working with local police and the sheriffs, and they're going to be working, and it's And you know, and it's all right. We see what you're doing. Cool. Another police force. That's what we need. Trump's performance at the August 11th press conference was a typical one for him as he described the nation's capital city. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs, and homeless people, and we're not going to let it happen anymore. Residents and visitors to Washington wouldn't recognize what Trump described, but an accurate description would invalidate the entire project. And that's what I tell people about LA. Whatever they tell you, you know, being in one of the major cities, you know, I've never been to New York. I have no real reason to go to fucking New York. It seems awful, not because of the propaganda of crime and homelessness, not because of that, because of how crowded it is. That's why I wouldn't want to go there. Although I hear they have a great museum, so that might actually sway me to go there. I don't know, like how is I know I'm broke, so I heard they have great food, but how expensive is the food? Because I'll go anywhere for food. Also, it wouldn't be good for me. It wouldn't be healthy as a night owl. I would love the fact that like restaurants are open late. And I would just it would be tough because when I was finally able to put on some weight, it was when I was working graveyard. I worked graveyard shift for my probationary period and a little bit over which was about 6 months. And to make it worse, we were getting mandoed left and right. So we're working 12-hour shifts almost daily. Graveyard shift, 12 hours. It's no joke. By the end of our original shift, and we'd be done, wrapped up with whatever was left for overnight, the morning managers would take advantage of those, you know, hey, they weren't the ones that scheduled or extended us. So they were going to use our labor. And we were zombies at that point. Because you literally saw the sun, you know, go down and you saw it rise, and you're on your like 10th hour of work, and you're working with people that are coming in fresh in the morning, and they're moving quick, and you're still like, yeah. And driving back home was great because you didn't get any traffic, but it was tough mentally. Or was I? My bad. Why did I get started there? The Bone Museum, dope. Only the museum, though. Young base world. As a baseball fan, I like to go to a Dodgers game. So just real quick, in case people didn't know what I was talking about. Let's see. I spelled that way wrong. Los Dodgers. I know there's a shorter one here that I want to look over. No, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Shorts. Here we go.
While the Dodgers fan base is largely Latin today, it wasn't always like this. There was a time when wearing a Dodgers jersey in Los Angeles as a Latino would have been considered disrespectful. Even some Latin families might have disowned you for supporting the team. Here's why.
What happened to us?
In the 1950s, Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop, now referred to as Chavez Ravine, was home to three close-knit, predominantly Mexican-American communities in Los Angeles. The city, facing a post-war housing shortage, promised residents modern public housing in place of their current homes, or they offered $6,500, roughly $77,000 today, for their properties. But many refused, trusting the promise that they would return to new homes once they were built. As the decade wore on, the offers decreased and more families, fearing they would be left with nothing, accepted the payments. By 1958, only 20 families remained as the plans for modern public housing had now vanished, and in place, the land was sold to the Brooklyn Dodgers to build a stadium instead. In 1959, those few remaining families resisted eviction, leading to dramatic and often violent removals. The most infamous was the forced eviction of the Arechiga family, whose home was bulldozed as police dragged them away, symbolizing the community's loss.
Yeah, so yeah, you won't catch me at a Dodgers game. I was willing to, when you're in a relationship, you should be flexible. You should be understanding of your partner's needs and enjoyments. And don't get me wrong, I had a blast at the game, but it just didn't sit right with my soul, with my being, with my person, what have you, however you want to call it. And it's one of those kind of, and I was younger, but it was kind of have to understand that if your partner isn't willing to understand, I'm not saying you have to have somebody that's willing to walk your political line. In fact, I kind of avoid that, to be honest. Um, and I think a big issue that a lot of leftists have is that they look for that first and foremost. And I think as part of the aesthetics and commodification of the left is demanding a leftist partner like that is it's always odd to me because it's like this is why you turn orgs and community spaces into fucking weird ass dating scenes and cause drama because you're so desperate to find somebody in your reading group that you can fuck, and it's so frustrating. Um, but all, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Y'all tell me. Y'all tell me. But I do love that we got a lot of people out here from the East Coast. I appreciate that. Please always check me if you ever hear me disrespecting the East Coast a little too much or at all. All right. Back to the reading. We were right here. Let me close this out actually. The press conference was preceded a day earlier by a police dragnet targeting the majority black community of Denwood, located in Northeast Washington. Resident Anthony Lorenzo Green reported in the early morning hours on August 10th, police agencies I've been able to identify on the scene MPD, MTPD, FBI, HSI, and ICE. Fucking gangs rolling deep. The outrage expressed over a president sending National Guard troops into a United States city to carry out police work is valid, but Trump is not the first president to engage in these tactics. It does little good to paint him as being exceptional. It does little good to paint him as being exceptional when he's not. But the Democratic Party depends on that. The Democratic Party depends on just that. In the 1960s, rebellions took place in major cities such as Newark, Los Angeles, and Detroit, and they were met by National Guard troops in response. Black Agenda Report co-founder Glenn Ford wrote about the events in Newark in 1967. The guardsmen behaved like an army of white vengeance, joining the racist cops in savaging black people and shooting up businesses displaying black-owned and Soul Brother signs on the Springfield Avenue thoroughfare. More recently, the National Guard in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014 used terms such as enemy forces to describe citizens who protested the police killing of Michael Brown. In the 1960s, there were not yet black mayors, even in majority black cities. Now there are, but they are as eager to help the demonizing their community, to demonize from the jump. Now there are, but they are as eager to help in demonizing their communities as their white counterparts are. In 2024, New York City Mayor Eric Adams joined Governor Kathy Hochul in approving her deployment of National Guard troops in the subway system. As governor, she was within her rights to do so, but the effort was political theater meant to quell the never-ending claims of crime waves proclaimed by white residents, who complain whether crime rates are up or down. Hochul boasts about a drop in subway crime since the deployment began, but subway crime rates were already falling before the manufacturing crisis took place. What's his name? Waltz came out. Is it Tim Waltz? Was it Tim Waltz? Yeah, Tim Waltz came out. Twitter. What did he say? He said something about this, which made me laugh because in the comments section, or was it a reply of his? Maybe a retweet. Yeah, it was something. It was like a retweet. This is what authoritarian looks like. No, this is May. And people were like, bro, like you were applauded by Donald Trump for deploying the National Guard, you fucking idiot. Where is it at? Maybe it was a retweet or something. Now I'm not gonna find it. My apologies, y'all. You know I lie. I prefer to make sure I have everything here. Let's see, Tim Waltz. Let's just find it here. Nah, it's gonna be too much. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, this is like some anti fucking vax person. Yeah, via QAnon. Point being, I don't care who is by. This was Tim Waltz. This was Tim Waltz doing it.
Oh, there's more. Look at this. They just keep coming.
Go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Light him up. Yeah, Democrats, you know? They're the good guys. Yipper, how we doing? And Walker, Lana. Glad to see y'all in the chat. All right, here we go. Here we go. Yep. All right, where were we? Adams is not alone in justifying over-policing of black people. In 2023, the Washington, D.C. City Council proposed a set of modest criminal justice reforms, which were immediately portrayed as being soft on crime, in which illicit demands from Congress to stop the bill. The president at the time, Democrat Joe Biden, joined the screeds against the council's proposed bill, and he was supported by Democrats and the allegedly liberal Washington Post editorial board, which declared DC's crime bill could make the city more dangerous. Oh, but we have an independent media, y'all. It's okay. We have it's the fourth estate. It's fine. We have an independent media. You know, we're not like communist countries where the state owns the media. Man. Much attention was given to the proposal to reduce the recommended sentence for carjacking from a 40-year sentence to 24 years. 24 years is a very long sentence, and the former federal prosecutors who helped write the bill pointed out that judges usually gave the sentence of 15 years. Only in the U.S. prison capital of the world and leader in draconian sentences would a 15-year sentence be considered a sign of weakness. But it's only a police state when a Republican is in charge. Man, Jamani in a staff meeting. love it. Washington's black mayor, Muriel Bowser, joined the chorus of condemnation, but her veto was overridden by the city council. Predictably, the U.S. Senate voted to disapprove the bill, with 31 Democrats joining the Republicans in doing so. Color me shocked. Color me browned. Wow, okay. The city council ended up approving, and Mayor Bowser signed the Secure DC Omnibus Crime Bill, which didn't reduce any sentencing recommendations and which allowed for the establishment of so-called drug-free zones that allow for arbitrary arrests and the expansion of pretrial detentions based on vague predictions of risk. Browser could have strongly condemned Trump's lies about her city, but as expected, she demurred and gave milquetoast responses, pledging to follow the law, work with federal officials, and continue the work we do every single day to keep DC safe, beautiful, and the best city in the world. Council member Janice Lewis George was more forthright. Despite everything the district has done to sort of meet the president's ask, the mayor has done to meet the president's ask, that wasn't enough for him. It was never going to be enough for him, but now we fight. They're not going to do shit, but yeah. At least I appreciate some honesty. That's all I'm asking for. Let's just be honest with it. No matter what, no matter how hard on crime Democrats go, the Republicans will always go further. And the lesson, because the Democratic Party is aligned with capital, isn't, oh, maybe we should actually go to the left. The lesson is, well, let's catch up to the Republicans and try to capture, not just normalize the right shift, but try to capture those, kind of like center-right people that might feel that the Republicans have gone too far and be more comfortable in the new, ever right-leaning Democratic Party. All right. David Barnes, let's not forget people like Hal Kalinske were using the talking points of Trump, praising Waltz on his handling of the protest as a positive. Yep, his handling. Yep. Taylor Lane, there's that one video too about them shooting a security guard through a window on the second floor, I believe. He should have been on the third. He should have been on the third floor. What are we doing, man? That's wild. All right. The sentiment is in the minority, and not just in Washington. Major law firms, television networks, and prestigious universities all bow down to Trump. None put up a fight against his demands. There is no backbone among the liberal classes, and Browser is no different from wealthy colleagues with billionaire board members who choose to do what Trump tells them to do. Neoliberal, black mayors, all chosen in a corrupt system of rich people deciding who we do and don't get to vote for. And no matter, brutal. Let's start from the top. I thought I was going to have some coffee with me, which always helps. And I'm telling you, I can't complain about that Yeti, but it's not keeping the coffee cold. All right. Neoliberal black mayors, all chosen in corrupt systems of rich people deciding who we do and don't get to vote for, are no better than their white counterparts. They assent to racist demands. They accede. I think it's a seed there. I wasn't going to get that one with or without coffee. Accede. Agree to a demand, request, or treaty. Huh. Cool. They accede to racist demands for all black people to be surveilled and policed and locked up. They have their positions precisely because they pledged not to rock the political boat. Trump or any other president can order them as he pleases, and not just in Washington, D.C., which is ultimately under federal control. Trump sent the National Guard into Los Angeles, and a federal court case will determine whether it is legal for the Guard to engage in civil law enforcement. The outcome of that case may or may not deter Trump. However, it is decided. One thing is certain: the people cannot depend on their elected representatives to protect them as they are pledged to do. The idea that they act as the people want is a fantasy and meant to stifle dissent when dissent is exactly what is needed in Washington, D.C. and around the country. Margaret Kimberly for Black Agenda Report. Always great articles. Interesting on Twitter, not gonna lie, but dope articles always. Yeah, Ero Black Agenda report doesn't miss. Never. Beezer, alaikum salam, brother. And Walker, I thought the concept of people not liking police was well understood. I talk to people, tell them I don't like them. They look at me like that's unheard of. I've conditioned my coworkers to understand quite well my political position. And I take it too far sometimes, and my jokes to where I can see people feeling uncomfortable with how, and I'm speaking generally, not just at work. When it comes to like the military, that's always funny to me. That's always interesting. That's like another layer that a lot of people are not willing to say, because a lot of people will eventually be like, if they get a speeding ticket, if they get a bad interaction with a cop, they will be like, you know, F the police, this and that. But you won't ever hear that for the military. So that's always a real kind of like you know, pressing some interesting buttons. All right. Actually, yeah, we'll watch a little bit of this.
President Trump has ordered a federal takeover of the D.C. Police Department and the deployment of 800 National Guard troops to the nation's capital. Trump declared a crime emergency in D.C., even though violent crime there is at a 30-year low. Unlike other cities, Washington, D.C. is not part of any state. Under the Home Rule Act, the president has the authority to federalize the Metropolitan Police Department for 30 days. Trump also authorized Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to work with state governors around the country to utilize additional National Guard units if necessary. Trump threatened to take action in other cities.
This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America, really. It's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
Trump's move came days after a former DOJ staffer, known as Big Balls, was assaulted during an attempted carjacking.
Even Amy Goodman cannot help her whiteness. Even Amy Goodman cannot help her whiteness. They're so fucking childish, bro. It's ridiculous.
On Monday, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser denounced Trump's order to take over the D.C. police.
And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised. We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizenship.
Protesters gathered money.
See what I mean about the military? Our families go to war. We police and brutalize and murder people abroad. All right? Give us some credit. We're real Americans. But yeah, what do all those cities have in common? A little too colorful out there.
Monday near the White House to condemn Trump's move. This is Kaya Chatterjee, Executive Director of Free DC.
Nothing Trump is doing right now is about our safety. That's right.
Sorry. I'm not trying to be weird or anything like that. I've just always, is that her? She looks fairly young. I've always wanted gray hair. And I'm so jealous right now. It looks healthy too. Like it looks thick. And I'm jealous right now. Because I was always told that if I ever went like that light or that gray, it would like be really damaging to my hair, especially because I don't really dye my hair. So it'd take a lot to get it to that color. Again, I apologize, but her hair looks so fucking cool. For me, I blame Baby Vegeta in Dragon Ball GT for wanting gray hair. I'm just saying. It's fucking dope. All right. Give it time.
If Trump cared about our safety, he would stop mass firings of federal workers. Taking away our jobs, our families' jobs, that isn't safety. If Trump cared about safety, he would stop kidnapping immigrant neighbors. Because terrorizing people, terrorizing families is not safety. If Trump cared about our safety, he would fund Medicaid. He would fund schools. He would fund SNAP. Because people being sick, out of school, and hungry is not safety. If Trump cared about DC's safety, he would make DC's prosecutor accountable to the people of DC so that they were listening to local leaders. These are the leaders. Our local leaders, our communities are the ones who have reduced crime to a 30-year low.
Advocates for unhoused people in Washington, D.C. have also expressed alarm over Trump's threats. On Sunday, Trump wrote, quote, "The homeless have to move out immediately," unquote. This is 56-year-old Flickette Rippey, who became homeless in Washington, D.C. after the house she lived in caught fire in March.
Jesus.
Give us a home. How about that? How about just giving people that need a home inside? Then we'd be inside. You just want to just throw us to the rats.
Yep.
We begin today's show with two.
It's literally, they want to throw him in prison. They want to outlaw being homeless so they could throw him in prison. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, Khalil Gibran Muhammad is professor of African American Studies and Public Affairs at Princeton. He's a leading scholar on the history of policing, author of The Condemnation of Blackness, Race, Crime, and the Making of Modern Urban America. Joining us from Oak Bluffs.
Oh, I've seen this book cover. I haven't read this, not going to lie. I have not read it. But I've seen this book cover because I really, really love the photo here. I don't know, like you feel the clustering, you can almost smell it.
Massachusetts. And in Washington, D.C., we're joined by Monica Hopkins. She's executive director of the ACLU of the District of Columbia. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Monica Hopkins, let's begin.
Bro, why are we still taking the ACLU serious?
With you. Talk about what it means to federalize the D.C. police force, to bring in 800 National Guard who are not trained in law enforcement, is that right, but deal with national emergencies or crowd control. What does this mean?
So this is the first time that we have seen Section 740 of the Home Rule Act actually enacted to federalize the Metropolitan Police Department. There are limitations on the president doing this, which is that he has to do it for an emergency, for a limited period of time, and for federal purposes. And that is a question. Now, as far as the National Guard, we have seen that in D.C. We have seen the deployment of the National Guard in D.C. in 2020 against racial justice protesters. And what we saw were military-grade helicopters that hovered over D.C. Following protesters through the downtown corridor where people eat, go out to concerts, and enjoy the nightlife in the city. And those helicopters broke windows, tore signs off of buildings, and really damaged not only the city, but the protesters. And the ACLU DC represented one of those protesters. We received a fair settlement. However, the power of the president to actually call out the National Guard remains in place.
And Monica Hopkins, what about this this continuing trend of President Trump to declare virtually every issue he wants to act on a national?
It's all a national. Everything's a national emergency. Like it's such a fucking caring thing to do. Like he is a president, and so instead of saying like I need to speak to your manager, it's like everything is the manager micromanaging every interaction.
Emergency or security threat to the country. How have the courts reacted to his use of these emergency powers so far?
Yeah, so we see sort of across, the country in places like LA and in various different courts that we cannot deploy the military against American citizens in this way. The president has made up these blatant pretextual emergencies to justify calling out the National Guard, calling in law enforcement agencies to essentially take over cities and issues in blatant disregard for our democracy and our Constitution.
And could you explain a little bit more about the D.C. Home Rule Act, which was signed into law by President Nixon back in 1973? What does it allow or not allow the federal government to do?
Yeah, so in 1973, essentially Congress used to oversee the day-to-day operations of the District of Columbia. So people can think about what goes on in their own municipality or cities, trash pickup, road maintenance, all of those things. And Congress, who was not the elected body to take care of those things, decided to give the governance and overseeing of DC to the DC residents under what is known as the Home Rule Act. That means that in DC, we elect our own city council, we elect our own mayor, we pass our own laws, we raise our own taxes. It is our city council is akin to, if you think about it, a state legislature. Our mayor is akin to a governor.
My question is, if you're not like involved or working in politics, why would you move to Washington, D.C.? Like, I understand the communities that were already there, I guess, right? I would love to know the history of Washington, D.C. a little bit more. Especially since it does have such a prominent Black community. Like, what inspired those communities to take root when it was so, like, out of the ordinary in regards to the rest of the country?
In a way, but without the power of states, we still have the congressional body that oversees the District of Columbia and can intervene in District of Columbia affairs in ways they can't in any other jurisdiction. And that means that they can directly legislate on District of Columbia. They can enact disapproval resolutions when we pass our laws. Many Americans are familiar with that. When the Congress passed a disapproval resolution when we tried to pass a reformed criminal code. And then
so that's just what we went over. So apparently, like, that's what gives them the ability to do that.
additionally, Congress, even though it is our budget with our tax money, Congress can put appropriation riders on the federal budget that tell DC what we can and cannot spend
that is crazy.
To run our city.
On Monday, President Trump threatened violence against protesters, saying, if you spit and we hit, this is part of what he said.
Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against law. See, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, you know, they love to spit in the face of the police. As the police are standing up there in uniform, they're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit.
Bro, nobody's spitting at a pig's face and not getting hit already. Like, that's assault, you fucking moron. And all respect to the older people, but like, you talk to a motherfucker with dentures, you're gonna get you're gonna be in the splash zone. So I don't know what he's talking about.
And they can hit real hard.
Trump talking about protecting law enforcement after he pardoned over 1,200 January 6 rioters. In the days afterwards, 5 police officers died. There were over 140 injured by the protest.
Bro, shut the fuck up about this. Now, I'm somebody that pushed back against January 6th was a false flag or whatever. I pushed back against that. It's like, no, it's just white fucking settler colonizers acting rowdy because they didn't get their fucking way. That's what they do. The petty bourgeois, you know, that they act up when they don't get what they want. That's just what happens. When they think they can get away with something, they act up. That's just what happens. But the reason why I'm at this point saying, like, shut the fuck up about January 6th is because you fucking liberals had the opportunity to hold this motherfucker accountable for it. Full force. And instead, you chose to kind of just, I don't know, like play around a little too much. Oh, well, you know, we don't want to seem like we're targeting political this and that. If he was a threat, if he's the threat that you claim that he is, I mean, bro, what other reason, what other excuse did you need other than inciting fucking essentially revolution is what he was trying to do. But did they treat him as such? Of course not. Of course not. That's what I'm saying. Like this whole fucking this system is not gonna be able to hold a fascist off. I don't think Trump is gonna like hold on to power. I've seen that kind of repeated a lot. Because okay, this is what I tell people. The US, and I agree with George Jackson about the US has always been fascist. It's just fascist to whom, right? For me, it's kind of like the fascism that we're taught to fear is not productive enough. Is not lend itself to what we consider normal, which is always going to be the most beneficial financially to capital. They want us consuming shit. If they turn on fascism and it becomes too broad, it becomes too impossible to ignore, then you're not going to see people spending the way they used to. They're going to see people willing to take certain risks because they feel they're back up against the wall. And they're trying to avoid that as much as possible. They want to keep us somewhat comfortable so that we don't rebel, so we don't revolt, so we don't fight back. So there is a certain line, a certain game that they're playing where they want to keep us just sedated enough. And that's why they push out this type of media so that we could, let out our passions and live vicariously through media. But just like the Zionists, liberal Zionists, look down and scoff at these rabid, bloodthirsty, orthodox fundamentalist Zionists because they're like, you're fucking gonna ruin shit for us. We've been doing fine. Look how much land we managed to acquire and just how brutal we're able to be towards the indigenous Palestinians through patience and self-restraint. And that's always been the big difference between Democrats and Republicans here. The Democratic Party is like, no. Look, we have to incorporate a certain amount of minorities into, the power structure, just a certain amount of them, so that they can control their people. And so they can inspire the people that they too can rise up. Now, the rabid reactionary wing, the Republicans, are like, no, we also want to maintain white supremacy. We also want to maintain white supremacy alongside this project. That is what they're trying to conserve first and foremost, white supremacy. Whereas the Democratic Party is like, hey, we got to move on beyond that. It's about the bag and the bag only. And the best way to do that is through the liberal normalization of the reality that we live in a fascist state. I mean, the settler colonial project requires it. If I'm looking down and see, I've got into this bad habit of playing with my knife, and I don't know if I can show it on stream. I think I can show it if it's shit. I almost stabbed the fuck out of myself because I'm an idiot. If it's in the holster, right? Got into a bad habit when I talk to do that. I think because I want to avoid moving my hands around too much, because I've hit the mic a couple times, and I know that's annoying for y'all. So I got into the habit of just playing with it, and it's not good because I'm actually gonna cut myself. I'll share a story when I was a kid. Holy shit, the waiting channel. Excuse me. Congrats on 6K. You need this 20 more than me, but for real, keep up the valuable, inspiring work. Hope to see you hold an event again sometimes in LA. And I really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. That means a lot. It really does. Because I know we're all out here working hard. That's why I'm still uncomfortable saying, like, talking about the super chat and stuff like that. Porque está difícil. La vida no está fácil. But I appreciate that. The young thing, hey, it ain't going to stop. I'm 31 and it's only going to get worse. Like I said earlier in stream, getting your butt whooped by fucking people that still have teen in their number, or kids that are barely in their early 20s. It's like, it'll hurt your ego more than getting called unk, I'll tell you that much. But thank you for that. 30 VO. You gotta lick the knife. That's proper etiquette. Yeah, right. It's a beautiful knife though. Anywho, again, the Awakening channel, appreciate it. Thank you so much. 30 VO, earlier you said that's one thing I don't like about anti-Zionist rhetoric, especially coming from the West. They act like if Israel fell, what? Oh, the imperialists wouldn't just move on to another country to blast it to dust. Yep. THO Jonathan was talking about the 1920s, 1930s as a peak time for revolution. We missed the boat. Jabari, funny how Trump said he didn't have the authority to call in the National Guard during January 6th, but he magically can do it now. Yeah, it's always been a front. It's always been a front, for sure. Yeah, sound innovation and design and production. The duopoly was made for it. I hear you, and I'm 100% with you. I just hate the whole like post-duopoly populist movement that we have going on here, or that RBN is leading alongside like Brianna Joy Gray and who else are big populist figures that just annoy the shit out of me because populism is so fucking lazy. Pancho, 31 is unk status. I mean, a lot of these people online are young, but I think it's more of a reference to the fact that that I've been very vocal about hating how white leftists have like just used that phrase. I think that's what they're referring to. And it's like, bro, oh, what was I thinking today? Today I thought about something where it's like, oh yeah, I was contemplating covering. I don't know if y'all seen. I'll drop this so you guys can see this, but Grant Greenwald was talking about what's this was name? Yeah. So there's been like some beef going on with Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and what's her name? Candace Owens. And I was gonna cover this, and I was just like, I just can't get myself to care about it. But when I was covering it, technically Nick Fuentes is Hispanic, Latino, whatever, and it made me laugh because I'm like, if Bernie Sanders is our tío and he's a Zionist, does this mean that Nick Fuentes is our primo? He's like, is it Primo Fuentes? Apparently, if Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez can say this Zionist is her fucking tío, then apparently that means that fucking Nick Fuentes is our primo. And who doesn't have a primo that's fucking reactionary, you know? Oh, man. Fucking crazy. But yeah. That's yeah. This was a while ago too. Of today. Pentagon plant. Well, no, this is actually a screenshot, so it's not today. Been trying to avoid the paywalls a little bit over here. Lynn Stack, I'm 31 too, and I'm literally an ant. I'm not mad at it. Intercommunity anyways. Yeah, you know, it's true. And being 31 and being an ant, like, I think that's a solid age, you know? And especially, like I always say, like, you know, the black and brown community, like we're parents young, we're uncles young, we're grandparents young, you know. And I think that plays a big role too in how white people manage to like make themselves look so old. I don't get it. Y'all wait to have kids. You have kids, you know, when you have shit a little bit more together, you know, let's say, generally speaking, and still you manage to look older than all of us. The primo that identifies as Spanish and asks you don't talk Spanish to him. That's exactly who Nick Fuentes is. Boss fight. That's hilarious. And when he does speak Spanish, he's habla como que si era castellano voz. Yeah, like castellano, the list. David Barnes, found a new podcast you might like. What's left of philosophy? Just a couple episodes, but you might like it. I'll check it out. What's left of you know what? I'm trying to get more into. I'm trying to get back into podcasting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. All right. I just want to read a little bit of this. This is we're gonna skim it. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're gonna go through this. The document highlights several and other concerns, including reduced availability of other missions. Wait, hold on. No, because this is from the perspective of the Trump administration is evaluating plans that would establish a domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force composed of hundreds of National Guard troops tasked with rapidly deploying into American cities facing protests or other unrest, according to internal Pentagon documents reviewed by the Washington Post. The plan calls for 600 troops to be on standby at all times so they can deploy in as little as 1 hour, the documents say. And these are the people that love small government. These are the people that love small government. The contradictions. Let's see. The plan calls for yes. They would be split into two groups of 300 and stationed at military bases in Alabama and Arizona, with purview of regions east and west of the Mississippi River, respectively. Mississippi River? Coast, I heard it. That's all. I heard myself. Cost projections outlined in the documents indicate that such a mission, if the proposal is adopted, could stretch into the hundreds of millions of dollars should military aircrafts and air crews also be required to be ready around the clock. Troops transport via commercial airlines would be less expensive, the documents say. The proposal, this is so fucking stupid. This is literally gonna like bankrupt the United States completely, and we're gonna see the collapse from within. It's such a fucking cliche, it's annoying. The proposal, which has not been previously reported, represents another potential expansion of President Donald Trump's willingness to employ the armed forces on American soil. It relies on a section of U.S. code that allows the commander-in-chief to circumvent limitations on the military use within the United States. The documents marked pre-decisional, are comprehensive, and contain extensive discussions about potential societal implications of establishing such a program. They were compiled by National Guard officials and bear timestamps as recent as late July and early August. Fiscal year 2027 is the earliest this program can be created and funded through the Pentagon's traditional budgetary process. The documents say, leaving unclear whether the initiative could begin sooner through alternative funding sources. Oh, they get private funding, it's gonna be fucking hilarious, because then it's a wrap. It is unclear whether the proposal has been shared yet with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, spokespeople for the Defense Department, declined to comment. The National Guard Bureau did not return requests for comment. That's fucking hilarious. Man, that's fucking hilarious. While most National Guard commands have fast response teams for use within their home states, the proposal under evaluation by the Trump administration would entail moving troops from one state to another. The National Guard tested the concept ahead of the 2020 election, putting 600 troops on alert in Arizona and Alabama as the country braced for possible political violence. The test followed months of unrest in cities across the country, prompted by the police murder of George Floyd, that spurred National Guard deployment in numerous locations. Trump then, nearing the end of his first term, sought to employ active duty combat troops, while Defense Secretary Mark T. Esper and other Pentagon officials urged him to rely instead on the Guard, which is trained to address civil disturbance. And weren't some people like threatening to quit too? when that was going down. But reveal, we are not making up these people. Although the lisp is a little exaggerated, not gonna lie. When some brown Latinos go overseas, if they go to Spain, they do come back being a little extra annoying. Hold on. Be right back. Somebody's fucking yelling. I don't know why. I think it might just be the neighbor's kids. No comments there, but I do want to check on it just in case. I'll leave y'all with I don't know if y'all have seen this, but this is a little throwback. I'll leave y'all with this and I'll be right back. My apologies. But here he basically calls out Schultz without saying his name because he was not worth tears. So brave of him. He claims to be too wild, too truthful for Netflix, so he has to throw up his special on YouTube despite getting the Joe Rogan bump. But let's look over where this all started, where it came from. So the lyrics are pretty direct here. He states, "Make Cat Williams and them proud. The truth about to get loud. No juice inside of my cup. I sober up and knock them all off. Don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman. That's law." And then he gives a little bit out for the people around. I know propaganda work for them, and fuck whoever that's close to them. That being groom, slide on them both. That second little portion there does require a tiny bit of analysis. It's not that deep, folks. He said it. He doesn't want the double entendres. Not in this album. He wants y'all to feel this shit. He names Cat Williams because he is a legend, paved his own way. I'm a little bit disappointed with Cat that he sat down with Joe Rogan and didn't tell him in his face, we are in different leagues. You have never been known for your comedy. You're the Fear Factor guy. You're the UFC guy. You're the podcaster. You have never once been known for your comedy. The closest thing Joe Rogan got was a sitcom and The Man Show. And Doug Stanhope carried The Man Show. But here he basically calls out Schultz without saying his name because he was not worth naming. Schultz knew exactly that he was being called out. Here, let's see the white tears. Let's hear it. Let's hear it out. None other than academic here, of course.
He was talking to Andrew Schultz. By the way, I hit Andrew Schultz about that. I think his reaction was, he's like, yo, is this guy too woke to understand a joke?
So please, we can all now admit that. Sorry about that, y'all. The neighbors have like two birds that can get pretty loud, but they also have kids, so I wasn't sure who was shouting. I took that chance to get myself a little peach. Yipper, have you seen Catherine Tate Offensive Translator? No. Let's see. Oh, she's from The Office. Dope. That's how she got her. Okay, so she was already big over there. Oh, that's cool. I'll check that out some other time. I don't know what that's gonna do to All right, and then what else were we gonna go over? Oh, we're gonna switch up a little bit, but I'll do that in a second. Instead, let's watch this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's go here, and then we'll double back.
Signed a direct. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
Or do we want to stay on Trump for a second, or do we want to move on from Trump for a little bit? It's like a big Trump day. I'm not gonna lie. That's what makes me laugh, like, about oh, you only criticize liberals or the left Democrats. Like, nope, we don't. Nope. I definitely got a lot to say about Republicans. It's just easy though, and everybody's saying it. Just quickly on this, because we're gonna double back to this in a second. But I thought this was a little funny. Democrats with an eye on 2028 reject some parts of liberal orthodoxy. Some presidential prospects have embraced sister soldier moments that demonstrate their independence. That's basically when Bill Clinton basically like denounced Sister Soldier, who also had like a weird twist in terms of her political ideology later in her life. So I don't know why they keep using this as like the litmus test or as a placeholder for that. California Governor Gavin Newsom traveled to Tennessee to appear on a podcast hosted by Sean Ryan, a conservative tattooed former Navy SEAL, who opened the show by handing Newsom a Sig Sauer pistol that the Democratic governor proclaimed too cool. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro joined a podcast a few days later, hosted by Ted Nugent, the pro-Trump activist and one-time hard rocker, to discuss his support for allowing hunting in Keystone State on Sundays. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel appeared on the Megyn Kelly show, hosted by a former Fox host, where he said that a man cannot become a woman, then joked that given the likely reaction of his fellow Democrats, that answer would require him to go into witness protection plan. As prominent Democrats begin testing the waters for potential 2028 presidential runs, some have been explicitly rejecting tenets of liberal orthodoxy in high-profile ways, often in venues that might attract independent or pro-Trump listeners. And when we tell you that the Democratic Party, that liberals will always embrace fascism, when we tell you that they've laid the groundwork for the fascists to take power, what do they tell us? What do they say? What do they say to the left? That we don't want to win, that we don't want to hold real power, that we're just happy complaining. Get the fuck out of here. Was that the DSA vote? We're gonna get there. Yeah. Sorry for the little spoiler. We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, I was debating how much to cover today, because sometimes, especially because I'm trying to work on this video, it's a little topical, so I'm trying to get it out quick. And I have certain clips that I feel like people can make certain connections that I was looking around. I'm like, everybody's missing the larger picture. I'm arrogant enough to think that. And I was watching this video from these individuals that apparently a lot of you are subscribed to, and I was like, oh, your kid gloves are on, and you're being too nice, and because of that, you're missing how liberals have really normalized a lot of what we're seeing today in comedy media spaces. And these liberals admitted themselves, but they don't want to hold themselves accountable for aiding and abetting the atrocities committed by the Democratic Party. I did kind of cover it a little bit with the Mark Maron Joe Rogan episode, but there's like a certain key player that people are glorifying and also not holding accountable for his complicity in creating and normalizing the Joe Rogans of the world. And so we're seeing now here, hey, why do we need the Joe Rogan of the left if we could just start going onto the podcast that the reactionaries have? Boom, problem solved. The appearances come as many Democrats, especially centrists, are urging the party to embrace what they say is a key lesson from their 2024 loss to President Donald Trump. The Democrats must distance themselves from the most easily weaponized left-leaning positions, and they must engage with podcasts, radio shows, and other media that are outside the liberal sphere. Yeah, it wasn't running fucking Joe Biden, brain rot Joe Biden, and it wasn't running charisma vacuum Kamala Harris. There's no question. What is that supposed to be that? There is no question the party is starting to get the message. I'm delighted to see other members of the party speaking out, said Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts, who faced a backlash from other Democrats when he complained after the election that the party was afraid to discuss issues like trans athletes. This is Cenk Uygur's favorite fucking Democrat, apparently. There are a number of issues where we have lost the trust of American voters because we are not listening to the concerns of the majority of Americans. Taylism, beautiful. Some Democrats say Vice President Kamala Harris, the defeated 24 Democrat presidential nominee, should have delivered a speech repudiating one or more progressive positions on immigration or trans athletes or COVID-related school closures that allow Republicans to portray her as an out-of-touch liberal. Yes, let's go ahead and embrace every narrative these reactionaries create. Every single narrative, let's embrace it completely and treat it as it's somehow true and honest and it's part of reality. Man. DeVos, if you had the chance to go onto a right-wing show, would you? I would depend on what right-wing show. It really would. It would depend on which one. Because I met a Groyper. So there was a Groyper at the Jubilee recording. I didn't realize what they were. I didn't know, like, I don't follow them like that. And so I didn't interact with him until after my good friend Josh. What the fuck is a brother to me? He told me, he's like, oh yeah, everybody after the recording, we were talking, we were hanging out, and then the Groyper said some shit that some slur or whatever, and people just walked away from him, and like Josh just like laughed at him because Josh like recognized what a fucking moron this was, and I don't know, Josh has been through a lot. He's Afro Latino. I've had him on the stream before, and it takes a lot to rile him up because he's seen it all. And I remember I wanted to ask the Groyper, I'm like, hey, like, how do you guys rationalize the fact that Nick Fuentes, had gay porn, that Nick Fuentes was hanging out with this like buff like cat boy, like what's going on? How do you guys do that, right? But I asked him from across the street because we were walking one way and I saw him the other way. I'm like, hey, I just wanted to get this, this question answered. And he thought that I was gonna be cool. And he was like, oh hey, yeah. And he starts walking on. I'm like, do not come over to me. Do not come over to me. Because let's just keep a distance from each other. Answer my question and we'll both go on our way. Because I really did want my question answered. And finally he's like, well, no, we just, a lot of us ignore that stuff and just focus on the politics. And I'm like, all right, cool. And we left it at that. And then me and Josh went to go get some tacos. So those were some good fucking tacos. Tacos de birria. Man. Anywho. So I can interact with reactionaries. I choose not to. Especially because I'm like, well, if your goal is to get a rise out of me, like I can smack you without being upset. That's one thing that I do say that martial arts does help you in, is that you're able to kind of, you're not going to go into fight or flight mode, but you're going to be able to actually fight without needing to be riled up, without needing to like warm yourself up, without needing to encourage yourself in that moment. If you're competing, it's different because the psychological aspect with the time and the building up to the competition, it'll get to you. But in terms of like just, hey, let's go, a little different. All right. So it just depends on which show. You ever been in a fist fight? No. I've asked for one plenty of times. Excuse me. Was that making a lot of noise? Sorry. No, because people always fucking found out that I did martial arts, and I wasn't ever trying to fight. I always walk away. But in high school, the few times that it was gonna happen, and I'm grateful for these, not close friends, but extended friends. You know, they would, because for whatever reason, I had like a certain group of friends, not my close friends, but I had a certain group of friends that I knew that were friendly with everyone. Like they hung out with everyone, which was cool. Like I admire that. And so, anyways, I don't want to get into this story. Anyways, I was gonna get in a fight with a skater. I didn't like skaters for a cool minute, and they told him like, don't get in a fight with Carlos. And then the kid apologized, and for us to be that age and to apologize was kind of like admirable, I guess. Like, then we just ended up, I'm sure at some point, getting drunk together. I'm telling you, I'm pretty fucking friendly. Like I get along with a lot of people because I recognize everybody is growing and has their faults and stuff like that. I'm not out here to claim to be a badass. I could have lied and said, yeah, I've been in a fist fight. No, I haven't. I've not been in a fist fight. If I could put on a mouthpiece and a cup and wrap my hands, I'm happy. But always avoid a fight. Always walk away. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the other person knows. You don't know what the other person has on them. You don't know what disease the other person is carrying. Guess what? When you punch somebody, you hit them in the mouth, you might break your skin on their teeth. And now their blood and your blood is starting to intermix. Shit like that, people don't think about that. I think it's disgusting. Yeah. Anywho. I think I would talk to Nick Fuentes though, just to troll the fuck out of him about the Catholicism. Just to troll about Catholicism. And I think I could get away with grabbing that fucker's neck. Because it's always funny. That like a lot of these dudes that like are in the right and claim to be alphas. Don't get me wrong, you have your Jockos, you have your Rogans and stuff like that. Those are foods that like know how to get down. But then the vast majority of them, the Ben Shapiro's, Nick Fuentes, even the Steven Crowders, like they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm like, bro, like how is being aggressive and violent like a core tenet of your conception of what a man is, and you don't know how to do those things? Oh, Nick Fuentes. Oh, damn, we got to do a deep dive about Nick Fuentes then, huh? Damn, I don't think I ever planned on doing a video on Nick Fuentes, but I think relating it to Catholicism would be a cool way to talk about like what is it, liberation theology in the Catholic Church versus conservative reactionary tendencies of the Catholic Church. That'd be kind of cool and kind of center Nick Fuentes around it. This I come up with videos, by the way. Now recording them and writing them out is not, and editing is another conversation. No, that'd be cool. I think I could do that. Yeah, Nick Fuentes is a straight up like Catholic, like he wants a Catholic state. He wants to create a Catholic state. And it's like, bro, like this is why I think I've said this before on stream. Like, can the Klan kind of bring back the anti-Catholicism a little bit? Just to like remind Nick Fuentes that this is WASP country. This is Anglo-Protestant country, boy. You know, can we do a little bit of that? Shitty Macha, I'm a recovering Catholic. Hey, I was baptized and I did the whole first communion shit and everything. Oh shit, what the fuck did I click? Okay. So this is fucking hilarious. But hey, people want you to join the Democratic Party and continue voting for them. Harris did not emphasize these issues, rarely talking about trans rights or immigration reform, for example, but she did not vocally reject them either. Recent polls suggest that Democrats' problem go far beyond messaging. A Wall Street Journal poll in late July showed that the party's image is at its lowest in more than 3 decades, with 63% of voters holding unfavorable views of the party and seeing Republicans as better at handling most issues that decide elections. And I think it's mainly because a lot of liberals like Hutch and Destiny will have you believe that, like, oh, it's just that it's marketing. The Democratic Party accomplished a lot under Joe Biden, but the media didn't give us the wins that we wanted, and people didn't realize how good they're having it and how much we did. And the thing is, it wasn't enough. Either you're braggadocious about it and you're throwing it in our faces like Donald Trump, or because he's not giving his base any of the economic wins that they want, but he is giving them the cultural wins that they want. Excuse me. So the Democratic Party is doing neither. They're not giving you the cultural wins of securing, abortion. They're not giving the cultural wins of securing trans rights. They're not giving you any of the cultural wins, while simultaneously not giving you any of the economic wins. At least not one substantial enough to make it feel different in your day-to-day life. And that's what matters to voters. Optics. Yep. Democrats are still struggling with how to reverse that trend and what mix of new policies and different messaging would be the most effective. With the next election more than 3 years away, it is too early for the potential presidential candidates to campaign in any real way. That did not stop Donald Trump. That did not stop Donald Trump. What are y'all talking about? All right, where are we? But some Democrats who may be in the mix are already sending signals about how they will present themselves. Given Trump's success in painting Democrats as beholden to radical left lunatics, that includes conspicuous displays of independence. Yeah. Senator Ruben Gallego, Democrat from Arizona, startled many Democrats in January by co-sponsoring the Lincoln-Riley Act, a law deplored by liberals that requires federal agents to detain migrants charged with crimes like theft and shoplifting. Democratic Maryland Governor Wes Moore, the nation's only black governor, drew sharp criticism from civil rights leaders in May for vetoing a bill to study slavery reparations. Come on, y'all. I mean, how are we going to pretend that this party is left wing in any shape, way, or regard when the slightest pressure, just the idea of losing power, gets this response? Their alignment with reactionary movements every single fucking time in order to do what? In order to maintain power, in order to maintain status, in order to remain part of the elite, in order to serve capital. I mean, come on. It is so fucking frustrating. All right. Imagine voting against the bill to study slavery reparations, man. Shameless, 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 shameless. All right. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told NPR recently that while Trump's efforts to dismantle the Education Department and other agencies is unconscionable, the agency suffered from serious problems and Democrats were too quick to defend the status quo. These Democrats may simply be acting on their sincere beliefs, Probably, let's be honest, probably they're tired of performing. They're tired of pretending they give a fuck. They're tired of playing along. Sure. And it's not yet clear which of them will run for president. But their statements are concerning liberals who say they risk caving into objectionable, even bigoted views rather than fighting against them, and that Democrats will never win by presenting themselves as deluded Republicans. That's all they've been doing. That's all they've been doing. Like, what do you, other than Obama's rhetoric and his PR, that's all they've ever done. It's, quote, it's never a winning strategy to sacrifice vulnerable communities, said Brandon Wolf, National Press Secretary of the Human Rights Campaign, an LGBTQ advocacy group. People are craving leaders who are bold, who are willing to stand up to bullies, and who will say unequivocally they are unwilling to compromise on values and freedom in this country. Man, that's hilarious. But yeah, check out the rest of this article. I mean, it's basically, it seems pretty repetitive, or it seems like they're kind of like honing in at each example of these fucking rat bastards. But again, this is a Democratic Party that that Sam Cedar wants y'all to vote for. I'm gonna keep teasing y'all with the DSA vote thing. No. Let's read it. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So, I don't know if y'all seen this, but this shit was fucking hilarious, and the excuses for it are interesting, and we're gonna see whether or not they're honest. So, let's see here. DSA officially votes to approve R22 for a fighting anti-Zionist DSA. $56.2, 675 votes, yes. Almost half at 43.7, 524 votes, or 30 abstains. Barely passing. So Dropside News states, a DSA resolution adopted this week at the 2025 convention is titled for a fighting anti-Zionist DSA. It sets pro-Palestinian standards that can lead to the expulsions of members and the revocation of national or local endorsements. As part of its enforcement criteria, the resolution lists making statements that Israel has the right to defend itself, a phrase repeatedly used by elected American officials to justify Israel's genocide in Gaza, including Bernie Sanders, AOC Steele, as conduct that puts a member in substantial disagreement with DSA's principles and is an expellable offense, subject to a 2/3 vote of the National Political Committee after a fair and ample opportunity for education. All right. That's a little, you know, they already know, but okay, sure. You're giving them the out to be like, all right, you know what? Redemption and whatnot. Okay. I think that's fair. I think it's a little childish. I think it's a little too naive, but I think it's fair in terms of a party trying to maintain its political leaders on board. I wouldn't have voted for that fucking exception, but sure. Overall, a good direction. For endorsed candidates, it is also grounds for having their endorsements revoked locally and or nationally. Let's see, relevant text. How does that look for y'all? Cool. Just a little bit. DSA members, regardless of endorsement status, who are credibly shown to 1. Have consistently and publicly opposed BDS and the Palestinian cause, by denouncing the BDS movement in public interviews, writing public op-eds denouncing the BDS movement, drafting and voting in favor of legislation that suppress BDS, such as legislation that suppresses speech rights around right to freely criticize Zionism, Israel, and or the right to boycott, making statements that Israel has a right to defend itself, making or endorsing statements of legislation equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, even after receiving fair and ample opportunity for education about the Palestinian struggle for liberation. So right off the bat, Bernie did not come out in support of BDS, would fall under this, and Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez would fall under the endorsing statements or legislation equating to anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, which she did. And then later she doubled back and her team said, well, they knew it wasn't going to pass, so that's why they voted in favor of that. 2, be currently affiliated with the Israeli government or any Zionist lobby groups, such as but not limited to AIPAC, J Street, or Democratic Majority for Israel. 3, have knowingly provided material aid to Israel, voted to provide Israel with material aid, gave direct financial donations of any kind to Israel and or a settler NGOs who carry out the mission of Israeli settlement and Palestinian displacement, such as the Jewish National Fund, the Israel Land Fund, the Hebron Fund, and Regavim, shall be considered in substantial disagreement with DSA's principles and policies, thereby committing an expellable offense as outlined in Article 3, Section 4 of the DSA Constitution, which states that a member credibly shown to have engaged in any of the above shall be expelled by a 2/3 vote of all members of the National Political Committee. I mean, I think that all sounds pretty reasonable. The issue here is why would 30 abstain and 524 vote against this passing? This is wild. You're telling me that almost half of the DSA doesn't want Zionists and Zionist enablers to be expelled from the party. Why? Can somebody explain to me why that is? That's ridiculous. Hirotsu. During the DSA book club to read Sakai's Settlers, I was surprised at how knowledgeable the members were, but I was the only non-white person. Danger, danger, danger. Man, I get it. You know, I was involved in a reading group. And they were cool. Like I appreciate them. Good books, good choices of books. I kind of fell off a little bit because it was so white. It was so white, and I appreciate them, and they had good insight. But I don't know why I feel like white people are more prone to like book worship. Maybe because they feel that they don't have the lived experience, maybe because I don't know what it is. But they'll hold on more to the text than anything else. Like we had just finished reading Wretched of the Earth, and like I'll jump at the opportunity to reread that at any point, especially amongst people more knowledgeable than myself. And I would say that a few of them were. Like intelligence was never the issue here. But whenever I felt myself questioning the text, because I recognize that Fanon is not a god, that they'd be like, well, no, because Fanon says this and he says that no, that isn't right. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, bro, like I know, but that's what I'm questioning. I'm questioning his position, his take on this. And like I said, like it's funny for me to say somebody that can talk for fucking 5 hours. When I'm in organizing spaces, even in a book club, I won't really argue with you. I won't like go back and forth with you. I'll usually be like, okay. Because I it's not that I don't like conflict, it's that I don't like wasting people's time. and I'm considering the people having to put up with listening to this back and forth. That's what it is. I asked myself, and I try to be as considerate as possible. Would I want to hear this shit? No, I wouldn't. So why am I going to put somebody through it? Yeah, it's. I don't even know if it's dogmatism necessarily, but it is kind of book worship, and I don't know. Maybe it's one and the same. All right. Linstack, the way I didn't even know about this as a member. Phew. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks. And especially because some people were saying, well, they were in opposition. The big excuse that I heard about this was, who are we as Americans to tell Palestinians how they should, form a government or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think that's the point. The point isn't that we're going to enforce this upon Palestinians. The point is that we're going to enforce this upon party members and those that get endorsed by the party. I thought that's pretty fucking obvious. Not that we're going to scold Palestinians for not organizing the way we want them to. That's ridiculous. And it pisses me off because it's like using Palestinians as a shield. Sweeter than anything, been a few years since I had my scope on them, but DSA Rightus, Bread and Roses Caucus was pretty powerful in 2016 and 2020. Huh. So like inter-party fighting, factions. Cool. I mean, part of me, only because I love drama, not gonna lie, the chisme. I kind of do want to join the DSA just to be like, with the popcorn and shit, and be like, oh, they're fucking each other, but then they're backstabbed each other because of a vote to nominate so and so. Like, that sounds funny to me. But I don't watch reality TV anymore, so I would want like the real stuff. And to see white people acting up like that, that's fucking entertainment right there. All right. David Barnes, I hope this doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, but I appreciate your coverage. It's helped me more accurately criticize news and media I listen to when I feel these white libs are talking. I mean, that's what I'm here for. No. That's what I'm here for. Appreciate it. Now, because I always say here, we hate, but we're honest. We're critical, but we're truth seeking. I found this, and I hope it's legit. I won't invest too much time on it because it might not be legit. Here we go. Supposedly, this is the actual, like, R22. This is like the whole thing, not just the Spark notes that Dropsite News provided. Supposedly, this is it. All right. For a fighting anti-Zionist DSA. Cool. We don't need all that. We don't need to know where it's gonna be located at. Already happened. What do we want to read here? Let's see. It's how many pages? 8 pages. Let's see. Oh, that's it. All right, we'll read through some of this, I guess. I don't like the whereas. I'm not gonna lie to you. Whereas in line with 2017 DSA National Convention Resolution number 7 and 8, the 2019 Resolution 35, DSA unapologetically stands in solidarity with the Palestinian people and is committed to boycott, divestment, and sanction movement. I mean, that seems like such a low bar, but okay. Whereas the 2023 convention passed NPC recommendation number 8, which, as amended, had the National Electoral Committee, NEC, and the National Political Committee, NPC, that's hilarious, consider the stated positions of candidates of Palestine and BDS in decisions of national endorsement, whereas the Making DSA an Anti-Zionist Organization in Principle and Practice resolution, an amendment, was ratified by the 2023-2025 MPC, reaffirming DSA's commitment to Palestinian liberation and establishing expectations of candidates seeking national DSA endorsement. Whereas since the 25th, 2025, 54 DSA chapter representing over 30,000 DSA members have passed their own versions of Making DSA an Anti-Zionist Organization in Principle and Practice resolution, enshrining locally both membership expectations and electoral endorsement conditions of principles anti-Zionism that has provided a necessary material counterweight to the Zionist lobby for progressives running for local office. Whereas DSA has recognized Zionism as a racist, imperialist settler colonial project that has resulted in the ongoing death, displacement, and dehumanization of Palestinians everywhere, whose survival is enabled by the financial, military, and diplomatic support of the United States government. Whereas since the intensification of the genocide in Palestine in October 2023, DSA members have organized against it using a variety of tactics, including local ceasefire resolutions, the uncommitted movement, directed protest actions, university encampments, BDS campaigns with the Palestinian Solidarity Movement, such as No Appetite for Apartheid and Mask Off Maersk, and Billy National Priority Campaign, targeting Chevron, Israel's largest natural gas provider. I did not know that about Chevron. I never really cared for Chevron gas, to be honest, though. It's always funny how and I've seen this go around for a bit, that like it sucks that like BDS includes so many things that like that I feel a lot of leftists already don't really consume from, right? For me, Chevron is just a coincidence. But that's interesting. Linstack, I joined DSA to get connected with local activists and orgs, and it's great for that if you're not well connected otherwise. Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree, and I think that's smart. All jokes aside, like it really was like the main factor why I didn't join DSA was the whiteness. It really was. It was the whiteness, because I knew I wasn't gonna find an organization that was gonna have like my politics. And it really boiled down to like, holy shit, there's so much fucking white people here. And also, when I was, volunteering with Street Watch LA, the white people that would show up from DSA did not leave a good impression with me. And so that's quite honestly what stopped me. Like, I want to make something very clear, because I've seen a lot of people get on what's it, Red Guard, whatever that fool's name is. Yeah, he's weird. I get that part. But you're not gonna hear me like talk shit about people who are in the DSA and actually like part of the left. You saw me make fun of those weirdos that were like worshiping Hassan, because it's like, oh, you're not in this for the politics, you're in this for the celebrity aspect of it. Because it's what your friends are into. It's because it's the media you consume, not the political aspect of it. Or else you would have a little thing called self-respect and recognize that Hassan isn't an organizer. Hassan is not, a legitimate political figure. What he is an opportunist. If he wasn't, why would he, a pro-Palestinian supporter, start a political show with a known Zionist and Ethan Klein? It makes no fucking sense. So these people have no common sense. A lot of white people don't have common sense, and I don't want to be around that many white people. Now, if somebody were to put me on and be like, hey, actually, like this chapter out here has a heavy black and brown, turnout, and they're radical. They just realize that at the moment the DSA is something that they could take advantage of and learn how to organize and build community with. Then I'd be like, all right, cool. If it works with my schedule, let's do it. But But yeah, no, I'm not hating. I'm not judging anyone needing to join the DSA for that aspect of it. I will hate, disparage, mock, and laugh at those that worship, celebrity culture on the so-called left. All right. My apologies, y'all. I had like a little piece of the peach, and I was like trying to like maneuver it. Gross, but I was trying to maneuver it, and just made it like 20 times worse. And I almost died. You hear it in my voice. I'm sorry. I hope y'all weren't hearing my cough, right? Like the mute actually worked. Yeah, se me fue por mal camino. Yeah. Camino equivocado. Question, does it I hope y'all didn't hear me cough, right? I hope that didn't go through. All right. Yeah, and Walker Black Red Guard, that's who it was. I mean, for all intents and purposes, a little bit. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I went down the bad road. The road less traveled, if you will. Fairly cool. But we're back. We're back. We're back. Okay. Yeah, my apologies there. Yeah, no, that was my bad. Now I rushed to like stop y'all hearing me cough, and I like muted everything. This is better, I'm assuming. All right. Whereas the repression against Palestinian solidarity movement by the Trump administration, universities, and other aligned institutions escalates, mobilizing our electoral project, our position in the labor movement, and our organizational density in the education sector to build more favorable terrain for organizing and resisting state repression is necessary to meet the current moment. Whereas since March 2025, the National Labor Commission adopted a resolution forming a labor for an arms embargo campaign working group, and the IC Palestinian subcommittee adopted a political education proposal for webinars on the municipal divestment. I'm actually going to have to look further into that. National Labor Commission. Interesting. And labor for an arms embargo. I'm gonna look into that further on my own. Okay, where were we? Whereas carrying out the obligation of pro-Palestine and BDS convention mandates required clear goals for Palestinian solidarity work and a renewed commitment to being productive coalition partners with the wider Palestinian solidarity movement, standards and orientation, therefore, be it resolved that DSA shall make organizing and solidarity with Palestinians cause a priority until Palestine is free, unequivocally affirming our commitment to al-Thawabit, the principles originally set by the Palestinian National Council in 1977 and repeatedly reaffirmed since, which are the Palestinian people's right to resistance, the Palestinians' right to self-determination, the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine, and the right of Palestinian refugees to return to their homeland from the river to the sea. Nope. North Finkelstein is having a fucking tantrum somewhere. Be it resolved that DSA shall expand on the expectations established by the Make DSA an Anti-Zionist Organization in Principle and Praxis resolution ratified by the 2023-2025 MPC, that DSA candidates support the BDS movement, refrain from any and all affiliation with the Israeli government or Zionist lobby group, and pledge to oppose legislation that harm Palestinians and support legislation that supports Palestinians' liberation, by affirming that these commitments, as detailed in this resolution, must hold true for all candidates endorsed by national DSA or DSA chapter. Again, how did anybody vote no against this? Wow. Wow. Huh. Be it resolved that any candidate questionnaires used to determine national and local endorsement must inquire about the candidate's position on BDS and should include further scrutiny on the candidate's commitment to Palestinian liberation. Be it resolved that potential candidates who can not commit to the aforementioned basic expectations shall be deemed by the National Electoral Commission, as well as the relevant approving bodies at the chapter level, as ineligible for endorsement by DSA or a DSA chapter. Be it resolved that upon receiving fair and ample opportunity for education about the Palestinian struggle for liberation, endorsed candidates who fail to continue to uphold the endorsement basic expectation after being endorsed and or taking office shall have their DSA endorsement revoked locally or nationally as applicable. I think we need to add, I think they, already joined the DSA. I mean, that's how happy I am with this, actually. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is how happy I am with this. I'm actually very fucking happy, and now I'm distraught even more that the excuses that they were coming up with why people voted no seem to be fucking lies. Because I could accept a vote no if your heart was in the right place of saying, like, this didn't go far enough, or this was speaking over Palestinians, or this was kind of accepting a two-state salute, all these things, right? That I could kind of mess around with, saying like, hey, shoot it down so that you could potentially like fight for something better, whatever. I could see that argument. But from what I'm seeing here, is like, why the fuck would you vote no against this? Does somebody know why you would vote no against this? I mean, this seems all fairly basic and simple shit. What I was going to add is that they definitely need to find a way to hold their politicians that they endorse more accountable, and to actually be able to hit them back, like because you don't have the big money, to make sure that when you unendorse them, that there's some consequence. You know, what could that be? I'm not sure. Maybe primary them, go on a PR campaign to make sure that people all around know that they're frauds. I'm not sure what could be the thing. DSA is cooked now because half the members will leave. Maybe. Did I miss something with Gamergate? That's interesting. Let's see. I saw a deep dive on him many years ago before becoming political. It was some kind of self-help thing. It was pretty lame. I don't know who y'all talking about. Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's so controversial about that. Oh, right. They're trying to cancel Israelis just like I was canceled by them for trying to fulfill my norm of Philistine destiny. Is that what it is? Is that the white, Jewish members of DSA? Is that what it is? Is that who we're putting it on? Interesting. I mean, if they were actually to engage in a political purge, I'll be honest with you, it would be hard for me to say don't join the DSA. I'm going to be honest with you. It would be hard for me to say don't. If they went through a political purge, that'd be interesting. Huh. Absolutely. Quality over quantity. Be it resolved that upon receiving fair and ample opportunity for education about the Palestinian struggle for liberation, endorse candidates who fail to continue to uphold the aforementioned basic expectations after being endorsed and or taken office shall have the DSA endorsement revoked locally and or nationally as applicable. Be it resolved that DSA members, regardless of their endorsement status, who are credibly shown to one, have consistently and publicly opposed BDF. I think we went over this. This is like the summary that Drop Site News provided. You know, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like, and I'm probably gonna read the rest on my own time. I'm getting pretty hungry. Hmm. Bro, I keep hearing. I don't know if sometimes I don't know if the neighbors' kids are just playing or not, or what the issue is. If y'all could hear the yelling I'm hearing right now. It's really distracting. If they did that, I would consider it too. Well, as the Spartans say, if. Yeah. Pitka, do you think other orgs would benefit from adopting such resolutions? I mean, I'd be embarrassed of being an org that didn't have that, or that it wasn't implicit, you know. But again, how do you discipline, political officials? It's the reason why the AOC is in this weird limbo, right? Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez is not endorsed by the DSA National, but she kind of is by her local chapter. Oh no, I know you guys can't hear the screaming because I could barely hear it. But you gotta check in with people. Someone is yelling, but that's funny. All right, looks like everything's good. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, this is from everything I'm seeing here. Yeah, I think it's worse actually now. Now I think it's worse at so much of them. And just through glancing the rest of this, I think they have a bigger issue than we're actually recognizing. Fuck, man, that's bad then. It kind of reminds me, I forgot who was I listening to, or what was I seeing, that where the moment that the civil rights movement, that leaders and its base started to support Palestinian liberation because they were seeing the parallels between Palestinians and the black community as an internal colony. That's when the Jewish support for the civil rights movement switched up. Huh. It's the voice of the party whispering in your ear. What's that? Purge them from the part. Oh, okay. I cannot overstate the fact that I'm like, just let me set up the chairs and tell me what to do next. All right, we're gonna go over this tomorrow then, because I'm not gonna have time for this today. We're gonna go over this, and then I was really excited to see. Really, this is Professor Alex, right? Where is he at? We'll go over for this tomorrow. Yeah, Alexander Avina. We'll go over this tomorrow. Marco Rubio. But it is on the docket, so we'll go over this right now. That'll be the last thing we'll talk on. And again, if y'all could do me the favor, go ahead and go over and subscribe to Deculturation Live. That's where everything's going to stay and remain. I will edit stuff out from there as well. Where are we at here? Let's see, 16. Dope. It's all good. I don't expect the same numbers on that because it is more long form instead of the easier edited stuff that I'm going to be working on. But definitely everything's going to be there. So y'all remember this a while ago from Chuck Schumer? 1 year ago, actually. 1 year ago. This is how brave he was. This is what he has to say.
Major obstacle to peace is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has all too frequently bowed to the demands of extremists like Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and the settlers in the West Bank. I have known Prime Minister Netanyahu for a very long time. While we have vehemently disagreed on many occasions, I will always respect his extraordinary bravery for Israel on the battlefield as a younger man. I believe in his heart he has his highest priority is the security of Israel. However, I also believe Prime Minister Netanyahu has lost his way.
He lost his way. That's fucking hilarious. He's not the man that I used to know. Let me put it in the chat. That's hilarious. Fucking pathetic.
Political survival to take the precedence over the best interests of Israel. He has put himself in coalition with far-right extremists like Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, and as a result, he has been too willing to tolerate the civilian toll in Gaza, which is pushing support for Israel worldwide to historic lows.
Again, that's always their main concern. The consequences on the Zionist entities' legitimacy, their ability to prosper, ability to be accepted into a global community. That's what they're concerned about. They don't give a fuck about Palestinians. They don't care about Palestinians. They don't see them as human beings. What they care about is the consequences, the perception, the optics, the effects on the Zionist project.
Israel cannot survive if it becomes a pariah. Prime Minister Netanyahu has also weakened Israel's political and moral...
Literally that. Israel cannot survive if it becomes a pariah. If you're anti-Zionist, you want it to become a pariah. So the Zionist entity ends and the colonization of Palestine is over. Not liberal Zionists. And I mean, he's a Zionist, like a fucking centrist Zionist through and through, but somebody like Sam Cedar, somebody like Peter Beinart, those are liberal Zionists.
...fabric through his attempts to co-opt the judiciary. And he has shown zero interest in doing the courageous and visionary work required to pave the way for peace, even before this present conflict. As a lifelong supporter of Israel, it has become clear to me the Netanyahu coalition no longer fits the needs of Israel after October 7th. The world has changed radically since then, and the Israeli people are being stifled right now by a governing vision that is stuck in the past. Nobody expects Prime Minister Netanyahu to do the things that must be done to break the cycle of violence, to preserve Israel's credibility on the world stage, and to work towards a two-state solution.
Fucking disgusting. He cannot serve the Zionists anymore. He is not good for the settler colonial project. Not that what he's doing is atrocious, immoral, it's that it's not beneficial for the sustainability of the Zionist entity. That's what the issue, that's what their concern is. That's what they're upset about. That's why they dislike Benjamin Netanyahu. Professionally, I mean, personally, I'm sure they're good friends.
If he were to disavow Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and kick them out of his governing coalition, that would be a real meaningful step forward.
That'd be meaningful. You know, he would say those guys are bad while he's dropping bombs on innocent Palestinians, the indigenous population. That, you know, that we could maybe just, we could put up with that.
But regrettably, there's no reason to believe Prime Minister Netanyahu would do that. He won't disavow Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir in their calls for Israelis to drive Palestinians out of Gaza and the West Bank. He won't commit to a military operation in Rafah that prioritizes protecting civilian life. He won't engage responsibly in discussions about a day-after plan for Gaza and a longer-term pathway to peace.
In other words, he won't play the fucking game.
Stay updated.
He won't play the fucking game. He won't pretend to give a fuck. And that's what we need. We need to make sure that our voters think we fucking care. Absolutely, Cedar's a sheepdog. Abso-fucking-lutely. So, why did I play that from a year ago? The same reason that Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez took her sweet time to call it a genocide. The same reason that she was willing to lie at the DNC and repeat the talking point that Harris was spewing with Biden, that they were working tirelessly for a ceasefire. Because the Democratic Party's main concern is how to best maintain support for Zionism while lying to you, while misleading you, while normalizing atrocities. This should have been the death of the Democratic Party, but because of soulless bastards like Sam Cedar, Emma Vigeland, Hassan Piker, The Vanguard, Cal Kalinske, Cristobal, Destiny, Hutch, Bisco, all these bastards, every single one of them, because they still voted for the Democratic Party. They still normalize genocide when the Democrats do it. You have no fucking, I don't want to hear you crying when it happens to you, when it happens to your people, right? Because that's what you're normalizing. You're saying, no, you could do it to Palestinians. All right, cool. And then the next group and the group after that is going to be fair play. It's going to be fair play because you're going to continue to support them because, oh no, the Republicans are going to do it worse. They're going to create genocide 2.0. It's all fucking team sports for them. It's all team fucking sports for them. So here, August 3rd, just 10 days ago, pro-Israel Democrats tried breaking with Netanyahu to stop party shift amid Gaza crisis. Fearing Zionism could die among Democrats, many party leaders are now explicitly breaking with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try to stop anti-Israel attitudes from becoming a litmus test for the next year's midterms and the 2028 presidential primaries. But privately, several tell CNN they worry it may be too late. Too late. That's what they're worried about. It's wild. Wow. I'm going to look into that, David. Because a lot of the excuses for Sam Cedar, David saying, Cedar shot down a caller talking for one Palestinian state on episode, was that? The episode, about a month ago. At around the 2 hour and 10 minute mark. I'll find that. Thank you. Now, if you drop the link, I'd love you even more. But it's all good if you can't get to it right now. Thank you for that. Because their excuse that it's not practical. It's not practical. It's not practical to give Palestinians their land back. It's not practical to treat Palestinians like human beings. It's not practical not to colonize Palestinians. It's just not practical for them. Disgusting fucking white supremacists. Last week, failed resolution to block new arms sales to Israel, supported by a record number of Senate Democrats, was just a start. A new letter to recognize a Palestinian state is gaining signatures in the House. Devoted allies of Israel are speaking out against its government, brushing off whatever texts and phone calls they've been getting from the dwindling number of party voters or donors still standing steadfast behind Israeli actions in Gaza nearly 2 years after Hamas' October 7th attack. Mind you, even this fucking article is disgusting. They say, standing steadfast behind Israeli actions in Gaza. They're just actions in Gaza. Meanwhile, October 7th was an attack. That's fucking interesting. That's fucking disgusting. It's no longer just the far left rejecting Netanyahu years of identifying more with Republicans. Okay. There's also a bitter backlash among many Democratic politicians who have felt bullied by the Israeli government and the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a lobbying group, and their revulsion over the images of starvation and dying children. They just want that monkey off their back, bro. We can disagree about a lot of things in the foreign policy space, but there's no room to tolerate mass starvation, said Hawaiian Senator Brian Schatz, who is Jewish and widely seen as one of the party's future leaders in the Senate. Schatz argues there's a conflation of opposing the Israeli government and opposing Israel's right to exist that he calls ridiculous, and an international strategy meant to distract. An intentional strategy meant to distract. I think there's a recognition that Netanyahu is making Israel and Israelis and Jews unsafe over the world. Fuck me, bro. These fucking people. It's all about them all the fucking time. That's how you know they're white. That's how you know they're fucking white. It's always how they're the fucking victims. Every single fucking time. More and more of us are saying so and voting accordingly. Yeah, they're voting to try and save the Zionist entity from the reactionary faction, from the extremist right-wing faction. U.S. Representative Mike Sherrill, who represents a moderate district in New Jersey with a significant Jewish population and is now the Democratic nominee for governor, is traditionally in a traditionally blue state where Trump ran stronger than expected, said he has sensed a clear shift among voters. We're seeing more and more people coming to October 7th was horrific. The hostages need to be released. Israel has a right to exist. Netanyahu has been a really bad actor in this space. The starvation of the people in Gaza is unacceptable. The idea that in rooting out Hamas, you're going to kill hundreds of innocent children and families is not the way the United States conducts their support of their allies. Sure, buddy. Sure it isn't. Man. So Netanyahu has to be held accountable. Again, they're going to pin it all on this motherfucker. If he even faces any repercussions, any consequences for his actions, not likely. Not by the fucking international community, not by the United States. At the hands of the Palestinian resistance forces, most definitely. And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who was a 24... Okay, yeah. Okay, said what? What'd he say? Said after how he saw the Israel conflict resonate in the trail last year, it'll still be an issue in 2028. As for what comes next, Walt said people are going to have the conviction of how they talk about it, how they spin it, how they spin their support for the Zionist entity. Fucking disgusting, man. Fuck that shit, bro. You see what I'm saying, though? Do y'all see what I'm saying? This is why we have to combat liberal Zionism, because this is how it's going to survive. They already see it. Now, that book, everybody will be against it. I've heard some criticisms. I haven't read it, so I'll withhold for a little bit. Everybody would have been against it. Makes sense if you pretend that they're sincere after the fact. If what they're doing is trying to continue normalizing the existence of the Zionist entity, then it doesn't matter what they say, how they say it. It doesn't matter. It's about what they do. Man. Yeah, hundreds. It's fucking wild, right? Hundreds. Just hundreds. Man. Where we at? So to be just to be on top of things, what are Bernie and AOC's official stance on Israel? Does it have the right to defend itself? Is it genocide? One state, two state? Bernie is a two-stater. I'm not sure AOC. And Bernie is still saying that Israel had the right to defend itself, but the focus now should be on their actions, which I guess is a move to the left. But he still supports Israel's right to exist. David Barnes, I didn't see it. Damn, that sucks. Huh. If you're on Twitter or on Instagram, feel free to send me a link there. But thank you for that. I'll find it though. Chirimacha, once anybody gets land back, it has ramifications for the core of the empire, and they're afraid of the snowball effects that would happen. Oh yeah, they're getting fucking flashbacks, all right. They're getting flashbacks for sure. Just the thing is now, China won't do shit to support anyone that wants to resist the empire. Let's be clear about that. So there is no like secondary global power to aid and abet decolonization movements. I mean, Bernie is moving into the whole. He stopped saying Israel has a right to defend itself, and he's only saying that Hamas committed a horrible attack on October 7th. This is why we have to combat it. 100%. This is why. So these rat fucking bastards that will just find a way from the Democratic Party, find a way to say, oh, we were always opposed genocide. We're always against it. They weren't. They're not. We can't let them forget it. So do me a favor, y'all. I'll put it once again in the chat. Go ahead. If you want to see the stream at your leisure, if you just want to continue supporting this project, do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe to this Deculturation Live. Try to make it a little bit different. Thank you once again. I appreciate y'all. Estuvo.